So being in rooms with people that are in a niche or in a similar size business, they're doing 2 million a year like you are. They're doing 5 million a year like you are. Being in a room with them, you will skip 5 years, like Eric said, because they know how to deal with the distribution, the lawyers, the accounting, the employees, the staff, and all the things that are going to come up, all the problems, headaches, situations that are going to come up, they can tell you in seconds.
Welcome to the Excellence Project. In today's episode, you're going to hear from marketing genius, Dan Fleyshman. Dan knows more about marketing than I think I've ever learned in my life. He's really, really smart. He knows about influence. He knows about social media. He knows about trends, and you're going to hear about all of it in today's episode. So with no further ado, let's jump into our conversation with Dan Fleyshman. So Dan Fleyshman,
We're here.
how are you?
Just happy to be here.
This is a long time coming.
Yes, I've been watching you for years. So.
You've been watching me for years?
Oh, yeah.
Really? Well, I've been watching you. I mean, we only met the one time.
Yep.
What was it, Super Bowl party? What was it? No, it wasn't. It was a UFC event.
At your place.
At the studio.
Yes.
So anyway, it's great to connect.
Thank you.
And I have so many questions. This is going to be so interesting. But what I want to start with is what I think our audience is probably going to have the most interest in. We're living in a very unique time in the world where everybody can become a media company, just like that. Content has been decentralized. There's no gatekeepers anymore. And you have spent a portion of your career, at least, helping people become influencers and then helping those influencers kind of scale beyond, where they currently are. Talk to me about that whole universe, because I think everybody in marketing and network marketing and business and entrepreneurship, my bias is they should all be thinking of themselves as a media company.
For sure.
What's your thoughts?
So everyone's a personal brand, whether they like it or not. And so about a decade ago, I started my social media agency. We spend around $60 million with influencers for brands, products, and mobile apps. So whether it's a water company, a headphone company, a microphone company, a watch company, etc., brands will give us budgets. We'll pay influencers. Last year, we W9'd 3,500 influencers. So we pay a lot of people. We did 110,000 paid posts. So I'm biased because I know that social media works. I know that influencer marketing works because I have no long-term contracts. The companies I work with, they can pay for 1 month, 3 months, 3 years, 6 years, etc., whatever they want. I don't have to sell them because it works. When they do a campaign with, let's say, a water company, it's going to work and they're going to come buy it again. I say that because people that are nervous or worried, they're like, I don't know if I should post on social media, or I don't know if anybody's going to care. There are lots of influencers that only have 10,000 followers, 40,000 followers. You don't need to have 2 million, 5 million, 10 million anymore. Micro influencers and niche influencers crush it. Meaning, if you're really good at cooking, a beverage brand or a food brand is going to want to pay you more than just a hot girl or hot guy with 1 million followers. If you have 30,000 followers, but you are cooking content, you're going to sell way more. Oh, you teach about how to weld, or you teach about cars or fitness or poker or chess or whatever. A niche influencer crushes it without having a big following. And so everyone that's listening, you have a personal brand, whether you like it or not. You do. How your neighbors think about you, how your friends think about you, your coworkers, people from high school, people that you don't even think about, people that you don't know, etc. Whether you have social media or not, it's up to you to tell your story. Otherwise, there's going to be rumors and gossip, and they're going to think about you and talk about you just from what they perceive. And so you want to be able to tell your story on social media. And I try to teach people the simple ways to do it for free, because you already carry around a really nice phone that has a really amazing camera. Whether you have an iPhone or Android, you got a nice camera. Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, TikTok, Snapchat, etc. Free, 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 and free. So there's no excuse there. So you have a fancy camera, you have all the platforms for free, and you already do real estate, or you already do yoga, or you already do poker or chess, or you already do the thing. So just pull out your phone.
Interesting. So this agent, what's the name of the agency?
Elevator Studio.
Elevator Studio. You identify influencers by niche, by category, whatever. And you have a client who is selling reading glasses or whatever. And they say, okay, which are the ones? What's your budget? And then they go to those influencers and say, would you post on behalf?
We do that, yes. We do that part. So the brand, let's call it First Form Supplements. They'll give us a budget. We will then say, hey, there's these 45 fitness influencers that fit for you. Let's pick 20 of them. We interact with them for them so that the brand doesn't have to. Oh, you're a water company or reading glass company? Give us the $100,000. We're going to disperse it amongst the influencers that fit for you. They don't have to do any work. The brands don't do the work. The agency does the work.
So is it just pay to post?
So it depends.
Or is it affiliate thing? Do they do a split?
It depends. So for Postmates, DraftKings, and Lyft, I did affiliate deals because I trust Postmates, DraftKings, and Lyft. I know it's going to work. And I had influencers, Kylie Jenner, Scott Disick, Tyga, Amber Rose, like rappers, celebrities, influencers, people you don't know what they do, and everybody in between posting for these brands, and it worked really well. DraftKings, I had DJ Khaled, Amanda Cerny. We made really fun content about this $1 billion giveaway. So those are affiliate deals. They will post, say, code DJ Khaled, code Kylie, code Amanda Cerny, etc. They'll have a code. They will get a commission for posting about that. Most any influencer of any size could do that for pretty big brands, small brands, etc., to make affiliate commission. The ones that give us the budget, 50K, 100K, 500K, etc., that budget we then spend directly for an influencer. There's no commission. The brand's going to make the money. So the reading glasses, instead of paying $6 commission per glasses sold, they'll just say, here's $1,000, here's $500, here's $2,000, post about these reading glasses.
And I've never done it. So I'm super curious about this whole landscape. I've never accepted payment from somebody else. A lot of people have offered,
Sure.
And I've never paid anybody else. But do they? Let's say you do something with one of the Kardashians, and they're going to post. Do they just post for an hour and then they take it down? Do they post for a day? Do they leave it forever? Is it on their feed?
Right.
Is it in their story? How does it work?
Sure. So there are 24-hour posts, there are 7-day posts, and there are permanent posts. Budget changes based on what you want, right? For the most part, anything after 7 days is kind of unnecessary in social media world because most people don't scroll back, right? They're not going to scroll back and be like, oh, Kylie posted 6 months ago about the water company. You know, it's unlikely that they're going to scroll back. It's like she represents a company called Glow Water. The Glow Water post, if they delete it in 7 days, they're not going to lose anything at all because nobody scrolls back 6 months and go, oh, why, look at the water she's drinking. However, that feels like a brand affiliation. And so that's why the influencer charges more, especially celebrities charge more because they left it up permanently. For the most part, you actually will get all your engagement the first day. So doing a 24-hour post, if an influencer, let's say you want to work with an influencer, say, hey, I want you to post for this sunglass company. Instead of your normal $1,000 post, hey, well, how about I give you $600? You just delete it in 24 hours. That's a mental game that you're basically playing with the influencer there because you're going to get most of your traction the first day anyways because nobody's going to scroll back.
Fascinating. So, I mean, and there's different kinds, right? Because you're trying to get the landscape here, and then try and figure out different ways that people can apply it depending on where they are right at this moment. But I was talking with Alex Hormozy a week ago, and you know Alex, right?
Oh, yeah.
So he told me this story about Dwayne Johnson, The Rock. And about 5 years ago, he approached 2 different tequila companies because he wanted to get into the alcohol business.
Yes.
They were both valued at about $100 million. And he asked for a big chunk.
As you should.
In exchange for getting behind it.
Yep.
And one was just not willing to give up. They already had venture capital people. They weren't willing to give up that big a percentage of their baby, quote unquote. And the other one said, you know what? It's The Rock.
It's The Rock. Yeah.
So they ended up giving up approximately 30%. The one that gave up the 30% is worth at somewhere between $3.5 billion and $6 billion. The other one, nobody's ever heard of them.
Right.
They kept their baby,
Sure.
but they weren't able to grow the baby.
Right. They own 100% of a grape instead of 70% of a massive watermelon.
Yeah. So you look at what Ryan Reynolds has done.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
With so many things, with Mint Mobile,
Aviation
with
gin. Yeah.
the aviation gin.
Yeah.
What are some of the other big stories down those brands? George Clooney with Casamigos.
What Kobe Bryant did.
Kobe Bryant, what did he do?
With the beverage brand, with Body Armor.
With Body Armor, I wasn't aware of that.
He obviously after he passed away, the family is now getting more than he made his entire NBA career from the percentage he had of that drink.
Really?
That's wild. Because he got in.
Say that again.
Kobe Bryant's family is going to make more money forever from the exit of the company, of the valuation that he got for the drink, than his entire NBA career.
Wow.
It's amazing because he came in early.
Did you see the recent movie Air?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So it looked like that Michael Jordan got 10% of every sneaker sold with his name on it. 400 million a year, every single year. He hasn't played basketball in a long time.
For sure.
Changed the game. And the mom was the smart one,
Right?
You know, and he was just coming on the scene. He was a rookie, hadn't played a game,
Right?
And said, you know, hey, since it's just going to have his name on it, let's just go ahead and throw a royalty
Yes.
in. What, you know? And I think he made 13 or 14 million the first year on a $250,000 deal, $250,000 contract.
Right.
So, I guess the lesson is this: one, it's worth it to get famous.
Yes.
It's worth it to get known. Even if you're only known to a smaller group of highly passionate people
Yes.
about a particular topic. Like you said,
A niche.
It's better to be known in cooking soup than cooking. It's better to be known to as niche down as you can get it.
Yep.
It's better to be known for cooking than it is for food.
Yes.
Right? Or you look at what Portnoy's done with pizza.
Right.
You know, Dave Portnoy he
Reviews
rates a pizza
Right.
once a day.
Right.
One bite, everybody knows the rules. And look at what he built with was it Penn Gaming
Yep.
and everything else with his whole business. So I give people advice in the, you know, network marketing is kind of its own niche. The marketing piece, the products associated with it, and then also the people. They all have their passions. They all have their interests, right? There's one young lady who's in our mastermind. Her name is Becca. And she represents a product and, you know, does well, makes good money, but she's super fit, like CrossFit, does crazy things in the gym. And because of, you know, had a group of people decided to do a Murph. And I couldn't tell you exactly what's involved in a Murph. You probably would. Do you know what's included?
I know the main idea. Yeah.
But anyway, you run a mile and you do like 100 pull-ups and you do X number of push-ups and X number of air squats, and then you run another mile and you have to do it in a certain amount of time. Well, she did it. And I sent her a message today. I said, I'm already inspired that you're fit, but teach me something.
Right.
Teach me 5 lessons you learned
There you go. That's
from
exactly what I
doing
thought.
the Murph.
Yep.
Right? Because you're obviously knowledgeable. You're obviously skilled at it.
Yes.
Teach me something. Make it interesting. Have some fun with it. Right? So give me and everybody watching some advice on how they can become more known around their passions.
Yes. So you teed up exactly my passion of how I explain this. Imagine I post a photo with a Lamborghini. I'm going to get a bunch of hate. People are going to talk crap and be like, oh, you're so fancy, you're flashy, screw you, blah, 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 blah. Imagine this post is a Lamborghini and a 1982 Buick, my before and after. And I explain how I got there. That's going to be my number 1 post of all time, right? Because I'm showing the reality of life and that anybody can do it, etc. Showing a selfie of like, rah, look how fit I am, I'm huge, or I'm so pretty. That post is going to get a bunch of likes and fire emoji, like, oh, you're hot, right? Only a small amount, because at some point, people become numb to that. How many times can I put a fire emoji, right? Over here, I'm so buff, I eat lean chicken every day. I have 4 eggs a day. I do a Murph once a week, blah, 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 blah. And I teach them something. That's going to be a huge engagement and shareable content. Nobody's going to share your Lamborghini post where you're just flexing. Nobody's going to share your post of you just in the gym flexing. Nobody, zero. Nobody's going to share that. But when you're showing the before and after of your 82 Buick and a Lamborghini, they'll share that because that's a cool story. They'll share when you're showing, hey, I do this Murph, I do this workout, I eat this lean chicken. They'll share that. So when you teach them something, make them laugh, show them something interesting, they will share that content, and that will help build your personal brand because they're going to repost it, forward to their friends, etc. And they're going to tag their friends on your post. There's a big difference between just like, look at me, I'm cool, and teaching someone or showing them something interesting. Keep in mind, the human ego is why people do selfie, like why they're always like me, etc. What they don't realize is the people following them are already drinking the Kool-Aid. They already clicked the follow button. We're already here. You don't need to do that. We'll stay here and we'll share your content, teach us, make us laugh, show something interesting.
Value. It's value in some form.
Yes.
I gave a group of people, high level earners, an assignment recently, because I will tell you, I have a huge regret, and I don't know if you know how I started doing Network Marketing Pro, but what I started was in 2008. I was taking a look at what was happening inside of social media, and so I'm like, you know what? This looks like a marketing tool. I'm going to join Facebook. And my kids freaked out. They're just like, do not join. This is for students. That you'll be the creepy old guy. We're going to block you if you come on, all this stuff. So I joined that and I start wandering around inside of social media because it was very, very early stage. MySpace was just kind of like, doing its thing.
Yep.
You could have your own theme music. Remember on MySpace?
It was so cool.
So I asked around who knows somebody in social media, and Gary Vaynerchuk's name kept coming up. So I contacted him, flew out to New Jersey, went to Wine Library, paid him $10,000 for a couple hours of his time, and said he was doing wine tasting on a daily basis.
Yep.
He was getting like 80,000 views. Mm-hmm. And he got on the Conan O'Brien show, and he was written up in Wall Street Journal. And like, what is going on? Or New York Times, one of those big different things. And so he kind of reverse engineered what he ended up putting in the book Crush It, and just told me, for 2 hours, okay, here's what I would do. Because I said, what you've done with wine, I want to do in the network marketing space. So we had this long discussion, and I just decided, this is February 2009. I just decided a month later to start.
Yep.
No agenda. I didn't have nothing I was selling. There was nothing to join, nothing to buy, no events, nothing. I was just going to put out content. And my inspiration came from Jim Rohn. I was like, Jim Rohn his health was failing at the time. And I was like, man, if Jim Rohn had a camera in his pocket with all of his adventures and all of his stories, and we had video of all of that, that would be a cool gift to leave behind. So I'm going to just do the same thing. And back then they had the flip cam. I bought a bunch of fancy equipment that I never used, but I bought a flip cam, and I just decided to start making videos. So it was like probably averaging 5-6 minutes. And I did like 200 of them the first year.
Yep.
And basically about that pace for the last, whatever it's been, 14 years. Okay. I should have been doing 1,000. I should have been doing 3 a day. Mm-hmm. I should have started a podcast and the other mistake I made is I put all the videos on Vidler instead of on YouTube because Gary told me to put them on Vidler, and I didn't know he was a part owner of Vidler at the time. I'm not saying he was, he was on there as well. Sure. But that was a huge strategic mistake to not have my archive of everything on there since day one. But my mistake has been, and we've been very successful. We built a brand.
Sure.
We're very known.
Yep.
But quantity was not what it needed to be. And quality's been okay. I'm a little bit more of a teacher than I'm an entertainer. I needed to think a little bit more about the creativity of it. But I made a mistake by not putting the quantity out there in as much scale as I could have, because I could have been a household name around the world. I'm very known inside of my niche,
sure, but
in the rest of the world, I think it could have created some things, So anyway, the question really is, for somebody getting started, let's say they haven't really, the people that their followers are their friends and family.
Sure.
If they want to build something, what would be their step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4?
Yep. So
and imagine they don't have much of a budget.
Yep. So luckily you don't actually need any money for this outside of the fact that you already bought your phone. So that's your camera. None of the social media platforms cost anything, and you don't need to travel somewhere to make content. So the things you have to think about when you're making content is, what are the parts of your actual life that you want to showcase? If you don't want to show your kids, don't show them. But if you do show your kids, that pulls the heartstrings. You don't want to show your dogs, you don't have to show them. But if you do, people will have more of an emotional attachment. Why do I say that? Let's say we're in Las Vegas, Nevada. There's probably 14,000 real estate agents out here. Imagine I'm at lunch with Eric and Marina, and they're like, you know what? We want to invest in fourplexes in Las Vegas. And in my mind, I think of, oh yeah, Johnny Fourplex. I don't even know this guy, by the way. I just follow Johnny Fourplex. I've been following him for 3 years. He has no idea who I am. And I tell Eric and Marina, hey, why don't you there's a guy I've been following for years named Johnny Fourplexes. Why don't you talk to him and I'll group DM you guys. He doesn't know who I am. I'm just going to group DM you guys. And then Eric and Marina go buy 1 fourplex, 2 fourplexes, 3 fourplexes from this guy for years. Fourplex is 800 grand. This guy's making a $24,000 commission for his 3%, 24 grand, 24 grand, 24 grand. Has no idea who's Dan. No idea. Why did it happen? I actually have been following him, but out of all the 14,000 other agents, I know that his dog and him go out every Saturday to the park. And on Sundays, he plays basketball with his friends.
Is this a real person? No. Oh, you just made it up. Yeah. But he could be really easy.
Yes.
Okay, got it.
I have real versions of this. That's why I explain it. On a Monday night at 7:30, the whole family comes over. And I see his mom, his grandma. She comes over and I see that on Monday nights. And on Tuesday afternoons, him and all of his buddies, they go out and play pickleball. And on Wednesdays, they go hiking. And I know this guy's life. So when Eric and Marina say, I want a fourplex, I'm going to think of him every time, even though there's 14,000 other agents in town, and I might see 30, 40, 50 of them, and all of them are the number one agent, right? That's what every single agent says. They're the number one agent. And I think of Johnny every single time because I know his puppies, I know about his pickleball, his hiking, when they have barbecues, etc. And so when you're making the content, just keep in mind, you will build an emotional attachment that leads to top of mind awareness. And the top of mind awareness is in that moment when Eric and Marina say fourplex, I think of Johnny. Mm-hmm. And so for your lives, that when you're out there, you're like, oh, I'm an accountant, it's boring. Or, oh, I do network marketing and I'm not sure if I know how to make content about it. Oh, I'm a chef. Who cares? Oh, I'm a plumber. Nobody wants to hear about it. To us, it looks like magic. The followers, I have no idea how to do accounting the way you do. I have no idea how to do plumbing. There's no chance I could fix a sink, right? No chance. So when you talk about fixing a sink, it looks like magic to me. It's boring to you because for 19 years you've been fixing sinks. It actually looks like magic to us. And so whether you're doing network marketing, accounting, business, basketball, whatever the thing is that you do, walk through content that just showcases the real life parts of it and then show us your life. Sometimes when you're traveling, sometimes when you're at work, sometimes when you're with the puppies or playing basketball, etc. Showcase your life and you will build emotional attachment that leads to top of mind awareness.
So it's a little bit about the emotional connection plus value.
Yes.
That's kind of the combo.
We will trust you more. You know the old saying, like people buy from people that they trust. Uh-huh. I will trust you more if I know your dog's name. I will trust you more if I have seen your grandma on Monday nights, right? I trust you. I trust you a lot more. Rather than the real estate agent in the slick suit and the cool glasses, that's the number one agent. How much do I trust him? Am I going to say, hey, meet Eric and Marina by a fourplex? No. No chance, right? He looks like a slick real estate agent. I'm not going to do that. But Johnny, I know his puppy and I know his grandma.
You want to help him out too.
Right.
Interesting. I never thought really about the personal side, what that would do for the business conversation.
I have a really quick one. Ready for this?
Sure.
Can you name the CEO of Southwest Airlines? No, you can't. Can you name the CEO of American Airlines?
No.
Can you name the CEO of Delta?
No.
No, right? But what if I said Virgin Airlines?
Yeah.
Richard
Branson.
You know Richard Branson. Mm-hmm. And I could do that anywhere at any event. Say, hey, somebody name the CEO of Spirit Airlines. Nobody has a clue, right?
Sure.
But everybody knows Richard Branson. Why? We've watched him jump out of airplanes. We know about his islands. We see him in his t-shirt hanging out and on the beach.
Branding genius.
Literally branding genius.
Yeah.
We feel emotionally attached to him. When we talk about outer space, we think about Richard Branson. Mm-hmm. We think about Virgin Atlantic, think about airlines and Virgin Music and everything in between because we believe in this guy. Mm-hmm. There's no Southwest Airlines that's doing music or apparel or spaceships. There's one. It's called Virgin. And so I say that because the personal brand is there. We believe in Richard Branson. We believe in his brand. And because we believe in his brand, he can have Virgin hotels. He can have Virgin everything because the personal brand side of it. Southwest can't do that. American Airlines and Delta definitely can't do that. Are you going to buy Delta merch? No.
Right, no.
You'd wear a Virgin one because of Richard Branson.
Yeah.
And so as you guys are making your content or thinking about it for your personal brand, why? We buy from people that we know, like, and trust. If we know, like, and trust you, and we know about your puppies, or your grandma, or your family, your travel, your sports, etc., we are more likely to buy from you or send you relationships.
Interesting. So outside of Johnny Fourplex, we're talking about iconic global people. Either super athletes, super entertainers, super celebrities, super business people. It can it sometimes feel like it's, that's not me. I'm not Richard Branson. I'm not that cool. I haven't tried to fly around the world in a balloon. I haven't done all this stuff.
Yes.
I can't dunk, or
the same thing applies to the single mom with 3 kids. It's still magic to us. How does she manage the household? How does she deal with getting the kids to ballet and football and wrestling practice and still make dinner? And this one wants chicken nuggets and this one wants to be vegetarian, even though it's only 7 years old. Like, that's still magic to us. That's still fun for us to watch. You don't have to have some high flying. Most people don't have a high flying career or can dunk a basketball, etc. It's still magic to us. We still build emotional attachment if you showcase your life to us.
Love it. All right, so I'm going to get real granular for a minute. All right, I'm going to rapid fire.
You got it.
People setting up, what platforms should they be on?
All the major platforms. Here.
Well, define what's major.
Okay. Instagram is the most visual platform. Facebook is the largest platform, and it'll always be the largest platform for the rest of our lives. YouTube is long form content. It's not a social media platform. It's a media platform. There's no social there. Snapchat, who cares? Don't worry about Snapchat. Instagram stories crush Snapchat. TikTok, as long as it stays around, TikTok in America is still the most chance you can go viral. Twitter is for conversations. Twitter is where you're going to have the most conversations. It's hard to build a big following there, but you can have great conversations with the biggest people. You can tweet at Gary Vee. He'll respond. He'll see it. And then LinkedIn. LinkedIn is the most important one for people in their entrepreneurial career, their business career, because it's finally a social media platform where you can interact with Eric and Marina. You can go there and find business people that are not necessarily going to see you on LinkedIn or Facebook or Twitter or YouTube, etc. On LinkedIn, you can go find the CEO, the CMO, the director of marketing, the buyer for sporting goods stores, household name corporations, whatever you're trying to get a hold of. You can literally search and get a hold of those people at these big corporations, and they have a real chance of seeing it. Because on LinkedIn, nobody's got 1 million followers, right? So if I go try to DM someone on Instagram that has 1 million followers, probably not going to see it. But on LinkedIn, they've got 1,200, they're likely to see it. And so those are the half a dozen main platforms: Instagram, LinkedIn, TikTok, Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. Going on those major platforms is all you really need. Every single one is free. The one that you like the most, you can make your content for, but then you do what's called repurposing.
But before we get there.
Go for it.
Okay. Any like Rumble, Truth Social, any of that stuff
they're all gonna,
in the conversation?
They're all going to come and go.
Other ones will come and go.
Yes. All the platforms that come and go is for a couple main reasons. Facebook will either buy them or destroy them. It's happened over and over. Look at Snapchat. I've not spent $1 out of $60 million. I spent
Vine,
zero. They come and go.
Snapchat.
They're going to get acquired.
What was the talking one?
Clubhouse.
Clubhouse.
Yep. They all had their chance at glory, right? Snapchat had it and they messed it up. Vine definitely had it and they shut down. They became Musical.ly. Musical.ly became TikTok, blah, 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 blah. Clubhouse literally had a chance at glory. I mean, I got 100,000 followers on there in 5 seconds. It was so amazing. I was using it all the time. I loved it. And they didn't go do the most simple thing to go say, hey, Eric, here's 10 grand a month. Every Saturday at 4, host Eric, and you're going to teach about network marketing every Saturday at 4 o'clock. Hey, Kevin Hart, here's $2 million every Sunday at 11 a.m. hosted on Clubhouse. You know how simple those deals are? It's a radio show. And Clubhouse would be one of the biggest things in history. Instead, as soon as COVID kind of relaxed and people started to be able to go outside again, Clubhouse faded away.
You talk about Twitter. Twitter was super uninteresting to me until Elon bought it.
Yeah.
And his idea of making it the everything app and paying content creators and all those types of things. What are your thoughts as far as what he's going to do with it? So and is it relevant?
So Twitter is the most relevant because it's the fastest way to get your news. If right now there was an earthquake, it would be on Twitter before the earthquake stopped shaking. Not on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, or TikTok ever, but on Twitter it will be. When Miami Heat beats the Boston Celtics, that's going to be on Twitter. Real-time moments, slam dunks, reverse, the last second tip up. That's going to be on Twitter, always. Not Instagram, not Facebook, not LinkedIn, etc. That's going to be on Twitter. It's a very relevant platform, very fast, great for information. I'm always going to bet on Elon Musk. He's the only human in history to have multiple billion-dollar companies. I think this is his fourth one at the same time. Let's just really think about this. And so when someone has more than $1 billion company, I'm going to bet on them. When they have 3 or 4, I'm definitely going to bet on them. And so I think he's going to figure it out. He's hiring a lot of people. He's listening. You know, that's what's important. He's watching, he's listening. I don't know how he has the time for it, but he's listening, consuming information of what he should be doing. And so I'm willing to bet on that guy over and over and over. And will there be mistakes along the way? Of course, because there's a lot of emotion to social media. It's a very, very visceral place where people love it, hate it, talk crap. It's the best thing in the world. It saved my life. It made me millions. It screwed me over. It made me depressed. You know, there's so many different versions of how people look at social media. Some people hate it and think that it's causing people's mental health problems. Other people love it because it makes people rich and famous and a lot of other opportunities. And so I think that Elon's going to figure it out, and it's going to be important for us to watch it.
Yeah. And I also think he's kind of this generation's Richard Branson, not having to spend a lot of money on advertising for his different brands because he is the advertising.
For sure.
All he has to do is talk about it and everybody talks about it. All right. So those are the platforms. Those are the half a dozen.
Yep.
Does it pay to kind of be everywhere?
Yes. So the word is omnipresence. Omnipresence is super important because you don't know where your users and followers live. Meaning, Eric might love Twitter right now. Marina loves Facebook. Dan loves Instagram. Casey loves TikTok. Roger loves LinkedIn, right? We're on these different platforms. And so if you don't ever post on Twitter, well, Eric's not going to see it. You don't post on Facebook, Marina's not going to see it. You know how easy it is to just copy and paste the same caption and post the same video or a photo on all the platforms? It takes 2 minutes. Not like a theoretical 2 minutes, literally 2 minutes. You just copy and paste. You're already logged into the app, so you don't have to do any logging in. Open the app, copy and paste, post the video or photo. Close the app. That's it. Nothing else. If you don't want to interact, this is where I say it doesn't have to be social media. It can just be media. You don't want to interact on Twitter? Don't. You should still tweet. You don't want to scroll through Facebook and see your uncle and aunt arguing about politics and your friend from high school with 7 babies? Don't scroll, but still post. If you don't want to be social on some of these platforms, don't. But still use them for media because it can lead to sales, investors, partnerships, deals, consulting gigs, speaking, friendships, relationships, who knows? All these different things happen on social media by you just posting content. And so you want to be on all the major platforms, just repurpose your content.
Yeah. All right. Talk about your profile, because I've heard you talk about this. Your profile, photo, description, cover, all of that. What is your advice taking these half a dozen platforms in mind?
You want your bio and your photo to look the same across every platform. It's kind of like that game we used to play as kids, like I think it's called Guess Who or something. Like you'd say, oh, red shirt, glasses. Well, if your Instagram pic is red shirt and glasses, make sure your TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, etc. is red shirt and glasses. Why? We're in an ADD society. We're looking at 3,500 logos and faces per day on average. Per day. And so don't make it hard for us to have the gray suit on now and then have the red shirt and glasses in another picture because we might not remember that Eric Worre was there. Even though we might recognize the name, we can't put 2 and 2 together because now there's a red shirt and glass over here and a gray suit over here. You want to make it easy that it's the same look in every single photo as we're scrolling through. Because if we
is that true in posts also,
so
or just in profile? Because
your profile photo.
I know, but I've seen other people do it in posts.
Yes,
you know, like Dean Graziosi always wears a gray T-shirt. Alex Hormozy always wears an acquisition.com wife beater. You know, breathe right nose strip and a baseball cap.
So they're building a personal brand to that is not helping them with engagement. So if they were wearing different clothing or different strip or different glasses or different hat, that can cause more engagement on different posts because there's more things for people to interact with when now he's wearing a red shirt or a blue shirt or a white shirt, a tank top, now he's wearing this or that, a hoodie this time. That will actually cause more engagement. Branding wise, now if he walks anywhere, let's say Alex Hormozi walks anywhere with that tank top, they'll spot him from a mile away. Right now, if Alex Hormozi wore a hoodie, we might not notice him as much. Even though we've been seeing him 30 million views a week or whatever the heck he's getting, like even though people are seeing him at scale, they might see him out of context in a gray hoodie because they're used to seeing him white tank top and a nose strip, right? And so branding wise, he's built that. Branding wise, Dean Gracios has built that. But ultimately, they would actually get more engagement if they wore different outfits and had different things. It's called a pattern interrupt. A pattern interrupt is gray suit, gray suit, gray suit, red shirt, and glasses.
Fascinating.
That's a pattern interrupt.
You know, Rudy Maurer,
Oh, yeah.
he went all red.
All red.
Everything's red.
Yes.
You know, red fur coats, red hats, red everything, which I find interesting. Like on when you go look at his different things, but it's an awful lot of red.
His office is very red.
So what you're saying is that's good for your brand on every platform, but not necessarily every video.
Imagine right now, today, if Rudy posted in a blue hoodie.
Yeah.
It would be a pattern interrupt. That would get the most engagement he's had all year. Because red. So now if he does a pattern interrupt and wears blue, people's minds would explode because they're so used to it. So it is good for branding to do that where you're wearing the same thing all the time. It's completely unnecessary for people to feel that that's what they have to do or need to do in their social media content. You don't have to do that.
So before I move off of platforms, talk to me about podcasts.
Yep. Podcasts, the listeners are the most interesting for you because there's someone that wants to learn. So they've already proven that they're apt to something. The type of podcast they're listening to, like let's say they're listening here, this is an entrepreneur or a business person. They're in network marketing. They're an investor. There's something going on with their world. It's not a 14-year-old kid, right? It's not a random 14-year-old kid listening to a high-level podcast like yours. And so podcasts are really interesting for people to either have their own podcast or not everybody's meant to have a podcast. Go on podcasts and be able to tell a story or provide value to those podcasts. Because if you go and you're a chef and you go on a bunch of different food related podcasts, you're going to gain following for sure because nobody listens to a food podcast that doesn't care about food, right? Zero.
Right.
There's no random person there that doesn't care about food. You go on to a Navy SEALs fitness podcast, I can promise you they care about fitness. So if you have a fitness related product and you go on their podcast, it's going to convert. So podcasts are really interesting because they convert for niches or there are also mass audience ones. Joe Rogan, mass audience. Ed Milet, mass audience. Some are for the mass audiences. Those are powerful because if you can get on podcasts, doesn't have to be that size, but getting onto podcasts with mass audiences, you're going to gain following. Starting a podcast, you just have to keep in mind the commitment. You have to be consistent with the podcast. And most people aren't. They don't realize the work behind being consistent with the podcast. If you just kind of put it out haphazardly, one here, one next month. Oh, I'm busy this month. Maybe in 2 months, I'll put it out when I have time. Oh, I did 3 today, but I'm going to put them out later. People have too many options. There's almost 5 million podcasts.
Right. But you can find your audience, right?
Oh, for sure.
And the podcast you're doing now, Mondays, yes?
Mm-hmm.
And that's relatively new.
Yeah. Number 18 just came out, yeah.
18. And did you ever have a podcast prior to that?
I waited 4 years to put it out because I wanted something to stand out. I finally figured out what I wanted, and that's why it's been doing so well. Is I waited for this.
Yeah, because you're like number one, right?
Yeah, so number one for entrepreneur for 29 days in a row. We're gonna keep fighting for that.
Let's go. Let's go. I'm gonna give you a little. I'm gonna come after.
Yeah,
you.
please come on. Let's go.
Yeah, we'll create a little.
I love it. Let's do it. And then business category, we've been staying at number 3, which is I don't ever think we'll get to number 2 or number 1.
Who's 1, 2?
It's Dave Ramsey and Dave Ramsey basically. He has a algorithm that I can't beat, which is he puts out a podcast every day and does live Q&A. So God bless him. I'm not going to catch up to him in that from the algorithm perspective. And so I'm happy at number 3 and I'm just going to stay at number 3.
Yep.
But he's a workhorse. You know, he's a machine at what he's doing. And he also puts out content that he knows is not correct also to have the visceral reaction. Like, what do you mean I can't buy a Starbucks coffee? What do you mean I can't go to the gym and pay $20 a month? Like he does that type of content as well, which is smart. But ultimately, a podcast or having a podcast, you will build an audience, even if it's small. Again, getting 3,000 listeners a month, but it's about food and you're a chef.
Yeah.
Those 3,000 people are ready to buy.
Well, I tell people in network marketing, if you're making over 6 figures a year, you should start a podcast.
For sure.
Interview every single successful person in your company, interview people who are having, breaking records or qualifying for trips, interview, the people inside of your home office,
Right.
interview other successful
Right.
entrepreneurs.
Jesse Lee and Stormy, like go.
Yeah.
there.
All these different, go interview them. There's a saying I learned a long time ago that every deal leads to a deal.
For sure.
Everything that you're doing to engage with the world will lead to something. It'll open doors. It'll make you more interesting as a potential sponsor. If somebody's looking for a home in network marketing and they see that you're out there and you have a podcast, somebody else doesn't, that's a huge competitive advantage. Massive. So anyway, I what you said about the commitment is right, because I had a podcast, it was crushing. And I just got bored with it.
Sure.
And I wasn't really aiming it at anything. So like 2.5 years ago, I just stopped. No announcement, no reason. I just
kind of fizzled away. Yeah.
I just stopped.
Yeah.
And so I'm mad at myself for doing that. So we long-term commitment. We're plugged in. We're ready to go. Everybody knows about my impulsive nature. I'm like, we should do 2 a week. We should do 3 a week. And everybody's like, okay, coach, just pump the brakes. Let's do 1 a week. Great for a year. Let's make the guests amazing. And then we'll see if you want to scale from there. Because I watch Tom Bilyeu. Tom does 2 a week.
Yeah. Ed Mylett does 2 a week also.
Ed does 2 a week.
I do 2 a week every other week.
It's a big commitment out of his life. Booking, scheduling, prepping. The amount of preparation he does is enormous. For these things. But anyway, so we talked about your brand. We talked about the platforms. I gave some top earners an assignment in the last 10 days, and I just want to share it with you, and you poke holes in it for me.
You got
it.
Let's go.
All right.
I like it.
I said, make a list of 100 things that you know very, very well that are valuable, you've learned in your life, lessons, insights, tips, secrets, strategies that you know cold. Make a list of 100. That's part 1. Part 2 is think about the most interesting possible way you can share that information. What's the most interesting way you can do it? Visually, with some humor, with some shock value, with whatever. Number 3, think about what is the call to action that you want to have from that piece of content. Is it to subscribe? Is it to come over here? Is it to post something in the chat? Is it for engagement? Is it come DM me? Is it go look at my link in the bio? Whatever it is, think about that. And then contextualize it per platform. If it's vertical for this platform, if it's horizontal for that platform, there are tools to be able that you can edit your own piece of content to be with captions and make it look cool and fancy like everybody else. And then start putting out at least one of those well-produced, highly thought out pieces of content a day. This is different than going live. Hey guys, I'm going to wait for a few more people to come on. Good to see you. Hi, Charlie. Hi, Sally. And everybody's gone. Yes. Or they're at the beach. I've seen all the beaches. Yes. Tell me what got you to the beach.
Right.
Give me something. Teach me something. Yes. If you teach me something, I'm subscribing.
Right.
If you make me think about something in a way that I haven't thought about before, or you make me laugh, or you shock me or something, I'm subscribed. So that's my little assignment that I gave these top earners. Give me your thoughts on that, and also give me what would be your advice for people to start thinking about how to create content.
So I like that whole concept. 1 piece a day is the perfect number. A lot of people get nervous to hear Gary Vee like, I got to post 20 times a day. Nobody posts 20 times a day. Don't worry about that. Posting once or twice a day is fantastic, especially once a day, to keep that top of mind awareness and have that relevance. The way do you get there? You might not be able to know 100 things. You might be 18 years old listening, or 25 or 32, and you're like, I actually don't know 100 things. Eric, what do I do? Find 10 things out of the 100. Try to write the 100. Obviously, it's a fun assignment to try to think about all the things. Find 10 things and really find like 3 or 4 things that you're like good at. I'm really good at pickleball and chess and poker, and I know how to brew my own beer. Cool, right? And then the way you can figure out how to make the 100 videos that Eric's talking about, take the 3 or 4 things, put them on a whiteboard or on a piece of paper, and go into subcategories. When I say brewing the beer, right, How do I brew beer? How do you get started brewing beer? What beer do you do? What's the temperature of it? What equipment do you need to brew beer? Those are all individual videos. And go down the rabbit hole. Oh, you want to play pickleball? Great. What equipment should I buy? Wait, Jamie Foxx has his own paddle company called The Greatest Paddle. What is that? Jamie Foxx might share it. Like literally might share it because you made a video about his paddle company for pickleball. Think about that for a second. You might have 700 followers. Jamie Foxx gets tagged in it and he reposts you. What happens? Right? Go down the rabbit hole of these things by just making it simple. The most basic thing. If you're like, I'm really good at real estate. Whoa. Well, that's going to be 17,000 videos. Why? Because you can talk about apartment buildings, fourplexes, duplexes, single family homes, FICO scores, credit, how to get your FHA loan, how to get Section 8 housing, like Airbnb. I could go on and on and on about real estate. And that's one huge category. If I just said the word food, you can make 17,000 videos about food. So from the list, Eric's talking about the concept of the 100. There's really going to be about 10 things you actually know. And there's 3 or 4 things that you're like really good at, and probably 1 or 2 that you're like, might be one of the best, right? Because you are obsessed with that thing. Break that thing down into 100 different things. Just go category by category, topic by topic, the most basic thing, and then get a little more advanced as you go. And each one is a 30-second video, a 2-minute video, a 40-second video, etc. And you're going to blink your eyes like, wow, I got 100 videos to make just from 3 or 4 topics.
And talk to me about what's the optimum length nowadays?
Okay. Yes. So we're in an ADD society. So for the most part, on most platforms, you want to be 60 seconds or less. On YouTube, you want to be 3 minutes or more because people go to YouTube wanting to escape, wanting to watch TV, essentially. They'll watch a 7-minute, 12-minute, 30-minute video on YouTube. They'll watch long form vlogs because it's like watching TV. Nobody wants to watch a 5-minute video on Instagram, ever. They definitely don't want to watch on Instagram stories, ever. If I see there's 42 little dots, I just skip over you. And when I say I mean everyone following you. We're not watching 42 dots because 42 dots times 15 seconds is 630 seconds. I don't have 10 and a half minutes to watch you on your Instagram stories. The stories should be 5, 8, 9, 15 for the day. You start to get over 20 for the day and there's a bunch of little dots, we skip over completely. Why? We're not in that mode, no matter how much we love you. I love Eric. I'm not watching 42 little clips on Instagram stories. I'm not in that mode. I'm either in a meeting, I'm like in passing, I'm doing something, I'm waiting for a phone call, I'm on a Zoom. Like I'm looking in passing when I'm looking at Instagram stories. I'm not sitting down ready for a YouTube video on Instagram stories. So you have to think about the platform that you're making it for. When you're doing Facebook content, it can be 1 to 3 minutes, but you don't want to do 8-minute videos. Nobody's there for that. So just keep in mind the platforms that it's mostly 60 seconds or less. If you're going to go a little bit more, it's okay. 90 seconds to 2 minutes. Anything over 2 minutes, you're going to lose people on these platforms. On YouTube, it's okay. On YouTube, you can do long form content. And if once in a while you're like, hey, I got to post this 4-minute video on Instagram and I want to do long form content, it's okay. You're going to get less views, but the people that watch it, they love you.
Right. Twitter, Elon's trying to promote longer form content on Twitter, longer form video content. Do you think that's going to play?
Yes. So people will watch it on Twitter because it is like a news feed. Twitter has that one thing where it's kind of like watching CNN mixed with TMZ. People are there watching like sports highlights, political highlights, clips of things. And it's fast form content, but they will watch videos. Will they watch a 7-minute video? It depends if they're on a laptop or an iPhone. It's a big difference if you're on a laptop or an iPhone and where you are. But ultimately, yes, people will watch videos on Twitter because they are there for news. They are there for information. They are there to be entertained. They're there to get their serotonin. They're there.
I'm putting podcasts on there.
Sure.
For that reason. And you see like Tucker Carlson announcing that he's going to be going on there. It's going to be interesting to see what kind of format he uses for that. Is it going to be like his full 60-minute show? Is it going to be just like segments that he used to put on the other shows?
Well, because there is views and there is reach, they can see the reach. He can still make money from his podcast if it goes on Twitter. Or it can make money from his TV type content if it goes on Twitter. You can make your YouTube type money if it goes on Twitter because you can show, hey, I got 200,000 views. Here's the audiences where they were. Because you can see the reach, you can still get brands to pay you for that.
What's the biggest mistakes you see people make when they're trying to go out there and build their brands?
Mostly they make content for themselves instead of for the people watching.
So explain that.
So they're patting themselves on the back. They're stroking their own egos. They're writing captions that are like very personalized or like, if you know, you know. Well, 99% of us don't know what the heck you're talking about. Maybe 100% of us, because maybe the 1 or 2 people you're hoping read it probably aren't reading it because they're mad at you today. And that's why you did this cryptic thing. What about the other 17,000 of us that are following you? Like, why are you doing that? It happens often. People get into their emotions and they post these things that are for 1 or 2 people that they know, or they're for their best friend. You have to think about you as a user. What do you want to see? I don't want to see your salad. I don't. Unless there's unicorns popping out of your salad or fireworks come out of it, I don't want to see your salad, right? So if you know you don't want to see someone else's salad, don't post your salad.
Unless it's across from your grandma with the dog.
Right. So unless there's something that's happening that has an emotional attachment to it, we don't want to see your salad. And so don't post your own. So think about for yourself, what do you want to see on social? I think the biggest mistake is people pick one platform and they just go all in on that platform and they don't post the other platforms. They don't build their omnipresence and they're missing out. I think it's really important for people to understand the way they describe their content is really important of how people consume it, how people take it, how they share it, how they like it, how they engage with it is how you represent it. And so when you're making your content, just keep that in mind that they're watching and they're deciding to take their time to watch you, and they make a decision the first few seconds if they're going to keep watching. So in the first few seconds, you have to hook them to make them want to keep watching because they can just keep scrolling.
Yeah.
There's so many options. They can leave that platform, go to another
Better
platform.
be interesting in that first 5 seconds. Give them a hook, right?
Exactly.
As quick as possible. With watching the people who do this well and create that hook really fast, they're just like, bang.
Yes.
What does this have to do with that?
Yeah.
Let me explain.
Yeah.
And they go straight into it.
Yes.
Talk to me about controversy.
Okay. So I tell all influencers, friends, family, followers, people at events to not post polarizing content.
Really?
Yes. Here's why.
I'm seeing a lot of big influencers doing it though.
Yes.
Patrick Bet-David, Grant Cardone, a lot of people, either they're religious content, non-religious content, profanity. You look at a Tony Robbins or a Gary Vee,
Yes.
That's polarizing.
Very polarizing. The characters that you just named, I'm friends with all of them, have 50% of the people hate them, 50% of them love them. In order to get really famous, Donald Trump, Kim Kardashian, Kanye West, half the people love you, half the people hate you. So if you want to do that, you have to have very thick skin to be able to handle it. And you better be able to handle when things go wrong. Look at Kanye West losing billions of dollars because he went after anti-Semitism. Look at what happens with Kim Kardashian when she does one thing wrong. She gets ripped to shreds for a week or a month or a year or whatever. Look what happens when Donald Trump says X, Y, Z. You have to have very thick skin. Look at Andrew Tate, fastest growing guy in social media history, locked up in jail. You know why? Because somewhere, whether it's a wife, a mother, a friend, a sister, was like, hey, that guy keeps talking bad about women. What are you going to do about it, honey? And what does honey do? He goes and arrests him because he got arrested out of nowhere and put into a bad jail for months. What happened to Kanye West? He lost billions of dollars in a moment. When people do things that are controversial, they can lose their entire credibility over one wrong thing just to go viral. Or you look at what happened to Bud Light. Look at what happened to Target. Budweiser lost $6 billion in a week. Target lost $9 billion in a week. In a week. These are companies that have been around for 50, 100 years because they want to do one thing that involves children or anyways. So when you're choosing to make polarizing content, you're going to have a lot of hate. Here's the thing. The reason I tell people not to post about politics, religion, sex, or race. Here's why. Let's say I take Johnny and Robert. Johnny likes Donald Trump. Robert likes President Biden. And I lock them into a room for an hour. And they start talking and arguing. What is the likelihood that Johnny or Robert's going to walk out and be like, you know what? You're right. I'm switching over to Trump.
0.
It's actually 0. It's not 1%. It's not once in a blue moon. It's just 0. Over here, we take Jewish person, Middle Eastern culture. We put them together and like, hey, I'm Muslim. You're Jewish. Lock them in a room for an hour. Is Muhammad going to come on and be like, hey, what? I'm Jewish now. You're right. It's 0. Like actually 0. So when you're posting your content, keep in mind, the people that agree with you about politics or religion, etc., they can't agree with you more, right? If I like Trump or I like Biden, I'm at 100%. If I'm Jewish or Muslim, I'm at 100%. You are never, ever going to switch me. And so me, as a competitive guy, you're a competitive guy, I like playing games that I can win. I'm not going to convert anybody to my political beliefs, my religious beliefs, etc. And so I don't play games that I can't win. The other half of people are going to be mad, and they're going to argue with the people that like me. And so the people that like me and agree with me now have to argue in the comment section for what? Nobody's going to win. Are you getting a bunch of engagement, gaining following? Yes. Are you gaining good following? No. Because now you are growing a following like an Andrew Tate. Like right now, a lot of household name guys are trying it. Brad Lee, Patrick Bet David, etc. Grant Cardone are trying this polarizing content. And if you look at their comment section, it's war. It's a war. Will war lead to sales? Of course. Wars generate hundreds of billions of dollars. That's why there's wars happening all over the planet. Wars in your social media can lead to a lot of sales and a lot of fame. Absolutely. But by having polarizing content, you are going to have half the people hate you. And those people are going to fight at length. The trolls are going to fight with the people that like you in your content. Now, does that mean you can't have a stance? Of course you can. Does that mean you can't have, you want to be proud about your religion? You want to talk about Christianity, Catholicism, Judaism, whatever? Go for it. There's a big difference between talking about it and telling people to convert or telling people to change.
Or that they're wrong if they're on the other side.
You are wrong for being Muslim. You are wrong for liking Biden. You are wrong for liking Trump. They're never going to change. And now you're just making them mad. You're just poking the bear. And so only bad things can happen from that. Now, will you get a lot of engagement and gain following? Absolutely. You're also going to lose a lot of following along the way. Just keep that in mind. You are guaranteed to lose following. You go start posting about political things, promise you you're going to lose a lot of followers. A lot. And so I tell everyone, because there's very few people that have thick skin like Grant Cardone, Patrick Bet David, Bradley, that can handle people coming at them and talking crap to them and going nuts on them.
And they seem to like it.
They enjoy it.
And it seems to be working to make them more famous.
It is. But I will also say, I go to a lot of events and we go to a lot of events and I have to hear about how mad people are at my dear friends like Patrick, Brad, etc. about something they said. And it's stuck in their brain. Something they said 7 months ago that Brad said or Patrick said, etc. People are physically mad at someone that they used to buy from or someone they used to love or someone they used to read their books, etc. are physically angry at them. They have to bring it up to me at a random event all the time. I hear about it all the time at these events, interacting with people about some of the names that you just mentioned, that people are physically mad at them or they never want to see them again or they unfollowed them, blah, 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 blah. So there are pros and cons to the concept of it. Most people can't handle it. Most people don't have the thick skin to handle it. Also, rarely good things come from it outside of engagement and things like that. You're going to lose your loyal followers and gain the people that are there to talk shit about you. You are. It's going to be a big change. The people that loved you can leave and the people that hate you are there to argue with you. And so you are gaining new following and hopefully you'll win them over and things will fade away. And sometimes you're going to turn bad people, the trolls, into buyers, etc. But ultimately, these are things that most people can't handle. I would say 99.9999% of people listening don't do that. Just don't.
How about profanity?
So
it's become kind of popular now for, people dropping F-bombs and dropping whatever. I mean, and it's kind of, and I would say even the people who used to be very highly sensitized to it have become a bit desensitized. So long as it's not overdone.
Yep.
If it's an exclamation point here or there, it's one thing. If it's every other word, it's kind of another thing.
Yes.
Is it the same concept?
So you lose some of your credibility when you're cursing a lot. Like the value of your sentences and your paragraphs and the way you're trying to emphasize things, if you're cursing a bunch, it loses a lot of credibility from the human perspective, from our minds, ears, the way we grew up, etc. Because now you're saying a sentence about entrepreneurship and then you said the F word 3 times. We're remembering the F word part and not the point about you should do this as an entrepreneur, do this as a small business owner, blah, blah, blah. If you use it as a punctuation, like you mentioned, that can leave a resounding effect that might actually work. You curse 3 times in 2 sentences, a lot of people are missing the point because they're thinking about that and they're impacted by that. And so I am pretty strict about, at our events, we don't want people cursing, the speakers. Can they curse to make a point? We tell them, of course you can make a point, but if you're going to go up to them and every other thing is an F word, people are going to become numb to it. And some people are going to actually leave. Some people are going to complain. Some people don't like it at all. I'm speaking at a very large event of a mutual friend of ours. He's got like 7,000 people coming. And there's actually part of the contract is you can't curse. This is a household name legend. There was a 7,000 person event, blah, blah, blah. And it literally is in the contract. You can't curse.
Yeah. We had Tony, I think the first time we had him at one of our GoPro events, Tony Robbins, who's kind of famous for his language sometimes. And he calls it a pattern interrupt.
It's not an interrupt if you do it over and over.
Yeah. So pattern interrupt to kind of change everybody's vibe, whatever. And we were sitting with Dominic, who you met, who was, I think, 7 years old at the time, sitting in the front row. And it's just like earmuffs, right?
Yeah.
And it's just like his eyes, he was like looking at his phone, whatever. And his eyes, like as soon as that started, and he's up on the screen, people are seeing it. It's like, So, to his credit, the next time we put a profanity clause in there, he honored it completely. It was just completely fine. But I kind of find it fascinating, to see how aggressive some of these people be in the spirit of authenticity.
Sure.
Gary Vaynerchuk,
some people it fits for.
Yeah.
Gary V, it's part of his thing.
It's part of him.
Yes. Wes Watson, when he's yelling at you, Wes Watson can yell at you and curse.
Or Goggins.
Yes.
For some characters, Goggins is just going to be, get off your effing rear end and let's go.
And some people need that, right? If Andy Frisella is yelling at me, I don't mind him cursing at me, right? Like I'm listening to him, I don't mind that. 75
you're
hard.
in that vibe.
Yes. There are certain characters that it fits them. Again, most people aren't built like that.
Yeah.
There's very few. We just named household name characters like a David Goggins. Most humans are not David Goggins.
Right.
Most humans won't do what he does, or Andy Frisella, et cetera. And so I think, I don't want to say they earn the right to the curse. I just think it fits their persona, that it makes sense for them. And for the most part, most people, it just doesn't make sense, especially when they're cursing a bunch of times in the same sentence.
Sure. So, I mean, you look at like a Dave Ramsey and his brand. He's not going to be dropping that. He's going to be trying to give as much wisdom as he can. Jim Rohn, my, original mentor, he would never even dream of that. It's just so far away. And you could tell he had a spiritual life, but you couldn't tell which religion, kind of. He told me once backstage, he said it was kind of okay to talk about God because everybody can kind of agree with that concept.
Yeah.
But if you start getting specific about whether it was Allah or Jesus or Buddha or whatever, now you start to alienate your audience.
You do.
So yeah, I've been conflicted because I'm talking with these other guys,
right?
And they're saying, just go be yourself, go man, go. And the people who are unfollowing you, they weren't buying anyway, and all this other kind of conversation. Yeah, well, it's good for it's good to hear from if you're marketing.
100% not true.
Because on one side, I want to be authentic with some of my different beliefs, and the other side, I'm like, well, what does that really buy me? And I don't want to lie if somebody asks me something,
right?
But I also, don't want to lose my friends. These are my friends. There's enough we can agree on.
Right.
All right. Interesting. Okay. So we talked about brand. We talked about channels. We talked about content. We talked about controversy. Talk to me about consistency. How often should you post? What's the gold standard?
Yep.
Whether you're brand new or you're a global brand, in terms of actual posts on these platforms,
yep.
and then stories, reels, those types of things.
So this applies to everything except for YouTube. YouTube, again, is not a social media platform. It's just a media platform. You could post 5, 10, 20 videos and leave it up there and it just kind of exists. That's called evergreen content. It just kind of exists there, and evergreen content will be there. The other platforms, your goal is essentially once a day. If you post once a day, you're going to keep the top of mind awareness. People think about you. And so in those moments, like I mentioned, I'm at lunch with Eric and Marina. I think about the fourplex in that moment. You want to have that so that someone else isn't who I refer Eric and Marina to go do real estate with, in that sense.
7 days a week?
7 days a week.
Okay.
Saturdays and Sundays are tougher. Okay. Sometimes your engagement's really high. Sometimes it's terrible because people have lives.
Mine's normally terrible for some reason. You'd think in my entrepreneurial world, people would be more kind of working on the weekends, but it's not the case. I think mostly since pandemic, people got into like a Monday through Friday type of a vibe.
Saturdays and Sundays are very hit or miss, and mostly miss because People go to barbecues. People do family stuff. They're in the car for 2 hours going to visit grandma and mom. Like things are happening in their life. And so there's a lot more activity in the early mornings and late nights on the weekends does really well because people are now back from visiting grandma or back from the football game or back from playing golf, etc. But some Sundays crush it because it's like Super Bowl Sunday, Emmys, Grammys, something big is happening. People are addicted to social media that day. Other Sundays, they're at barbecue and they're swimming and they're doing stuff. And so it doesn't mean you don't post though, because it's still posting. Oftentimes people ask, what's the best hours to post? Post when people are awake. So many times people are like, I posted at 3 a.m. because of the algorithm. No, if a tree falls in the forest, no one sees your post at 3 a.m. Same concept. Like nobody, because the people that are happening to look are looking like this with their eyes barely open because it's 3 a.m. or it's 5 or 6 a.m, depending on their time zone. They're not in buying mode. They're not in listening mode. They're probably next to their significant other. They have the volume off. Like it's not time to look at social media content at 3, 4, 5, 6 a.m. And so posting between 8 a.m. and 8 p.m. effectively is when people are awake. It depends on your time zone, obviously. And then the prime times are Monday mornings and Friday afternoons. Why? Monday morning, they're going back to school or work. And so they dive into their phones and they're checking on what's going on for the week, etc. Friday afternoons, they're about to leave work for the weekend. They're looking at what's happening in social media, what happened in the past, what's going to go on in the weekend, etc. And so those are kind of the key moments in time. But ultimately, you don't have to post at the exact same time every day. Like some people say, that's nonsense. You're not a TV show. Unless you're trying to be a TV show, you're probably not a TV show. Posting in the same segment of time is okay. But if like you post at 8 a.m. one day and then post at 9:36 the other time and then at 12, nobody cares. Don't worry about it. You're not a TV show. So the concept is the consistency. How do you get the consistency? It sounds overwhelming. Oh my God, Eric and Dan said post once a day. Pick a Sunday and go knock out 20 or 30 videos. Whiteboard, like we talked about earlier, a bunch of topics, and make a topic about fourplexes, Airbnbs, FICO scores, credit card, debt, blah, 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 whatever you want to teach about. Make a bunch of 60-second clips and have it preloaded and pre-saved in your phone. So then on a Wednesday, when you're busy, you don't feel like it, you can post it. Thursday, you're traveling, you can post it.
What do you use to put captions on and all that stuff? What's the best?
There's an app called CapCut, CapCut. It's really easy. It's really fast. It's free. I like CapCut a lot. There's a bunch of competitors, hundreds of competitors. But I use CapCut. This is not a commercial, but it's just a really great, fast way to do it. And you can add in captions and special effects.
We should have them sponsor this.
They should.
Right?
CapCut, send Eric Warrior a check. His address is. But most importantly, like having those phone clips, like just preload and pre-saved will save you a lot of time and headache. Having a bunch of photographs and captions pre-written will save you a lot of time and headache. So in those moments when you're busy or don't feel like it, you have that post ready to go. Got it.
All right. How about, should people build an email list?
So emails are critical because no social media platform can take it away. The algorithm can't take it away. Those are your people. And if you nurture them and you send them content that's actually relevant, it's kind of like Gary says, jab, jab, right hook. Teach them, show them something interesting, ask for the sale. Teach them, show them something interesting, blah, 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 ask for the sale. Email lists are huge because the 10,000, 20,000 person email list will convert better than 100 to 200,000 followers on social media. But you do both. The biggest thing I see is someone's really good at email marketing. Like, I only do email. Why? Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, they all work too. Oh, I'm really great at LinkedIn. Why would I post on Instagram? I don't know, because there's 1.5 billion people there. It's pretty simple. And so it's not an either or thing. Is it email or is it social or is it Facebook ads? You do all of them. You do all the things because having omnipresence is how you win.
What email tool would you use for a person just starting?
I mean, something as simple as MailChimp is fine.
MailChimp?
Yeah, MailChimp is fine.
So I guess what I'm saying is, and I'm glad we're agreeing, is use your social media to ultimately get people to join an email list.
For sure.
Give them something cool. Give them an ethical bribe. Give them a white paper. Give them extra training. Give them something, some reason for value to do that. And with your email list, encourage them to follow you on the social platforms. Mm-hmm. You know, you do it both ways. Just have that be in your mind.
Yes.
So covered all this ground. What are the brands that you admire the most?
Nike. Nike's my favorite brand of all time.
Why?
It's so simple. It's so clean cut. they've stuck to the same thing forever. It's about greatness. It's about winning. They go get the best athletes in the world and they'll pay whatever they have to get them. Nike is just, they're the brand that has transcended time. And they have their moments where things go bad. You know, they don't always make the right decisions, but that's usually amongst certain staff. It's not a collective company of tens of thousands of employees. I try not to base my outlook on a brand of 3 to 8 employees that made a decision. Even when it comes to Bud Light, Target, things like that. Like, I don't think that everybody at Target believes that those bad things that they did. So Nike to me has been the one. Tesla, it's so impressive to have that clean cut of a brand that can sell flamethrowers, tequila, anything they want in seconds. People will pay for something very expensive that's completely new and paving the way, and doesn't spend $1 on marketing, which I think he should, but he hasn't spent $1 on marketing. He would sell a lot more Teslas. By the way, if you're listening, Elon, you would sell way more Teslas if you spent money on marketing. It converts. But ultimately, like, brands like that, Nike and Tesla, are the ones I look up to. I love First Form, what Andy Frisella has. First Form has been, we've worked with them since 2016.
What do they do?
They're $400 or $500 million a year in supplements and apparel, but they're the brand that, like, 75 Hard, which is the workout program, has now over 2 billion views, and it's changed so many lives. And it came from an idea from Andy, for people to help. First Form, as a cultural brand, I've never seen anything like it. They got 250,000 square feet in St. Louis. I'm flying out there in a few days. They're building another 250,000 square feet. Like, they are a clean cut brand that's passionate, never raised $1. It's all self-built up. Just a couple of brothers that are like Andy and Sal Frisella. They built it up from scratch. Like, I believe in a brand like that. And it's hard to find brands like that truly care about their customers at scale. They do over $1 million a day selling to people things that they need. But yeah.
How about influencers? What influencers do you think are really getting it right? And for a moment, let your mind go to the entrepreneurs, business people, thought leaders in the business space. Who are the ones that are top of mind that would be good for, outside of Money Mondays and following you? Yeah. That would be good for my audience to follow and just kind of learn from?
Very easy answers. Cody Sanchez. She is absolutely amazing. She's my favorite business content on social media. It's not close. So good. Cody Sanchez's content it has that hook at the beginning and then you want to watch it. But she absolutely crushes it. There's a guy named Anthony Pompliano. It's at POMP, Pomp. He's built up millions of people on his email list and teaching about cryptocurrency. And he's an angel investor in a bunch of companies, has his own large fund, etc. But his content is so important for financial literacy and for our society. Pace Morby, he's in the real estate space, but he teaches how to do creative financing called Subject 2 essentially is how you can buy houses, apartments, businesses, buildings, etc. without having a bunch of money. So Pace Morby's content is fantastic. Those are my main characters I think are making amazing content that's doing really well.
Love it. So, and before we go off of influencers, how much can an influencer make for posting for brands?
So the hard part is it's almost like saying how much is a car? I can buy a Pinto, I can buy a Lamborghini, I can buy a Rolex, a Rolls Royce.
Give me the range, I guess. Go all the way up to Dwayne Johnson with his tequila, all the way down to a one-time post with somebody who has 10,000 followers.
Yep. So a lot of the smaller followings can post for free or for trade. So they'll take a Fashion Nova shirt or Fashion Nova dress, and girls will post it just for the dress. So their baseline is free and clothing or product or beverages, stuff.
Perks.
Yep. And a lot of people are happy getting stuff because it's something they would have bought. They would take supplements, or they would take CBD, or they would take cannabis, or they would take headsets and headphones. They would take product, a watch, etc. They would take that in lieu of payment because they buy that anyways, or they like it anyways. A lot of posts are $50 to $500. Let's say the most posts on the planet are $50 to $500. They're very inexpensive because it's pretty light work to just hold up a water, a headphone, a supplement. It's pretty inexpensive. It's pretty quick and easy for someone to take a photo or video. Then there's a huge world of like $500 to $1,500, like massive. Out of 110,000 paid posts, I'd say 70 or 80,000 of them are in that range. $500 to $1,500. That's where people live. It's easy. It's affordable. If it doesn't work, it doesn't convert, they're not going to get hurt. If it does well, brand can make money. It's enough money that matters for the influencer to put on their makeup or do their hair or go to the gym or go do the thing. Like it's enough money to make $500, $1,000, $1,500. But then when you talk about The Rock, he's turned down $1 million posts from me and my friends. Kylie Jenner's turned down $1 million posts. She's done some for $250,000 and $100K and $300K for brands that she likes. And I've done, dozens and dozens and dozens and dozens and dozens of posts with her and the family over the years. There's plenty of things they turn down. Turning down $250,000, $500K, $1 million type of things often. So it depends on the size of the influencer, but it really depends on the niche. Like a niche influencer with 50,000 followers will crush what I get for an influencer with 1 million followers that's just sexy or cool. Not even close. Because if you're a food brand and you can pay a chef with 50,000 followers, that's going to convert way better than just the hot girl or hot guy. It just is. Now, you still do this because of the eyeballs. The hot girl, hot guy, the impressive entrepreneur, someone got famous from like a TikTok video, etc. They have 1 million followers. They're not likely to buy that food brand, but they'll make it more famous. And if they like it, they might tag their friend that will buy it. And so sometimes, I'll give you a quick example. I invested in a company called Dollar Beard Club. It was a monthly box for beards. Many years ago, it was me and Dan Fleyshman. We were the only investors and the only shareholders outside of the founders. The way we launched it, at the very beginning, got 10,800 paying subscribers on day one was we had a bunch of female accounts at makeup, at female, all female related accounts, makeup artists posting about Dollar Beard Club. I don't know about you. I don't know any women with beards.
Right.
Like zero. Outside of the carnival or the circus, I don't know any bearded women. However, women are the people that are buying for the household mostly and for their boyfriends, their fathers, their husbands, their friends, etc. So we made these posts on all these female related accounts, and the comments that people were tagging was only either someone with a beard or someone that likes someone with a beard. That's it. And so we'd post on a makeup account, get 2,000 comments of people tagging. Girls are like, hey, your dad would love this. Hey, your uncle would love this. Hey, your brother. Hey, your boyfriend. Hey, this, hey, that. 0 of them tagged someone and said, hey, your boyfriend doesn't have a beard. LOL. No. They only tag people that have a beard or like a beard. And so I say that because you might have a brand, product, or service, and it's still useful to get the mass following because they might tag the direct customer for you. They might say, hey, you would love this Nike product. You would love this Tesla, even if they're not the one that's the actual consumer. And so you want both. Whether it's an influencer, you want to make $1,000 for a post, or you want to make 10,000 for a post, you have to also determine why you're charging what you're charging, or why you're paying what you're paying if you're the brand, to understand what do you want to happen. How many eyeballs do you need? Do you need sales conversions? Are you just doing it for branding? You have to make a determination of how you're charging or how you're paying based on what you want to happen.
Talk to me about the super influencers, like the Mr. Beasts of the world that are going out there hyper aggressive to build followings, to just break every record there is, becoming, mega companies.
It's worth it for Mr. Beast to spend $1 million, $2 million, $3 million on one video when you know you're going to get 10 million, 20 million, 50 million, 100 million views. Because not just the YouTube monetization, it's the fact that he has Feastables, his chocolate brand that's going to do over $100 million in sales.
Every deal leads to a deal.
Right? He's got his burger joints in malls all over the planet. Like when you think about a David Dobrik, he has pizza restaurants now. Look at what the heck Jake Paul and Logan Paul have done. Logan Paul is an actual billionaire now.
With Prime.
Like an actual billionaire. If Gatorade or someone tried to buy Prime right now, they're not going to buy it for $1 billion. It's going to be multiple billions, and he's the co-founder. So Logan Paul is literally a billionaire now on paper. Not in cash, but on paper. Like when you think about the mega influencers, especially Jake and Logan, what they've done with boxing and what Jake did in boxing, what now Logan's doing it with wrestling, that leads to them having brands and owning companies and products and services that are becoming massive. And so is it crazy for Mr. Beast to spend $2 million on a giveaway? No, because he's going to do $100 million selling chocolate or tens of millions of dollars selling burgers or whatever that thing is. Same thing with Logan selling $1 zillion, like $250 million of Prime the first year. That is mind-blowing. Just the production and shipping and infrastructure you need to do that is mind-blowing. Outside of the views and marketing, the execution of it Execution of Mr. Beast selling $100 million in chocolate. The execution of Logan selling $250 million of Prime is massively impressive. And so there's a big reason of the personal brand side. The Rock will be one of the richest humans in history because of that tequila brand. When that huge tequila company sold that George Clooney and the guys were a part of, they sold for like $1 billion. He's selling 600%, 6 times what they were selling at the time that they sold for $1 billion. Think about that for right now. That means in theory, he's worth $6 billion or more. I mean, I just let that sit in for a second. The Rock, who 5-6 years ago did not have a tequila brand, now has one of the fastest growing tequila brands in history. Not just tequila, but like spirits brands in history, when he's up against 100 years of legacy, and is outselling a company that sold for $1 billion. He's selling 6 times more than that.
Did you know he never posted on social one time? Not one time. He just put his name behind it. He promoted it on ads and stuff, but didn't post it on his Instagram even because he, didn't know what that was going to do with his audience. Didn't need to. So the reason why I mentioned that the major guys is I believe this is the biggest land grab in history. It's happening in front of us in real time right now. The people who are smart enough to position themselves in any niche and just learn as they go. It's so forgiving because you can make all the mistakes in the world. It'll be forgotten in 3 months.
Yes.
You just keep building something, build a following. You'll be able to turn it into customers. You'll be able to recruit from it. You'll be able to attract great people that'll be part of your life. You'll be able to connect with brands potentially as you move down the road. But this is like, imagine the California coastline or the Florida coastline. All the beach is available. All you have to do is just stick a flag in it and you get to own it for forever.
Yes.
That's what we're living in right now. Everybody taking this thing and becoming a media company with their imagination and free apps. When I started doing video, you had to, like the picture behind you, you had to cut and splice. You couldn't drag and drop. You had to do stuff in real time. I mean, it was like $1 million studio. It was our state-of-the-art studio. And this phone does like 10 times more.
Right.
It was unbelievable what's in front of us right now. All right, so we'll pivot off this, and I have a bunch of other topics I want to talk to you about. What are the other businesses that you're involved in?
So I have Cards and Coffee, which Gary Vee named Cards and Coffee, and that's how it started. It was a fun thing we started 2020.
Who's we?
I own the Cards and Coffee, the sports card stores. Gary named it, and then I went and opened it.
Okay.
Because him and I have a bunch of sports card group chats.
Okay. Cards and Coffee. So collectibles.
Yes. So football, baseball, basketball, Pokemon, etc.
So what is your most rare and most valuable card that you own personally?
So there's three Kevin Durant of this like McDonald's card that are perfect PSA 10s in the world, and I tracked down all 3 of them. So that we have them in the LA store in the safe there.
What are they worth?
We don't know because I have all 3 of them. So it's up to us what they're worth, what we would sell them for.
What would be the minimum you'd sell one of them for?
Oof, I don't know if I'd sell one. I don't know. Ken Golden on his TV show, he offered us $55,000. I said no.
Yeah.
I don't know. I really don't know. I've thought about it, but I don't have a number for it. There is a number. I don't know what that number is yet.
So where did this passion come from?
So I grew up when I was 4 years old, 5 years old, selling sports cards, baseball cards specifically, on the swap meet. My parents would sell Levi's jeans out of the back of a van at the swap meet on the weekends. And I was my little 4, 5, 6 years old selling baseball cards. And then I was going to Chicago and Gary Vee was at the National at the conference. This is the biggest sports card conference, 100,000 people. He told me to go meet him over there. And I stayed for a few days. I was going to go for a few hours. I stayed for a few days. And then after that show, we started making group chats together with Lewis Howes and Logan Paul and Steve Aoki. And we just started adding all these fun characters into these group chats to talk about sports cards and Pokemon. And so I co-founded Cards and Coffee with Steve Aoki and DJ Ski. So we own it together. I gave them some equity to
Steve's a neighbor, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. He's going to make me jump in an ice bath.
Right.
And so we started that business. I self-financed it with 1.6 million because I didn't want to raise capital at the time because it's October 2020. The whole world shut down. And I'm opening on Hollywood Boulevard inside of Dash Radio where all the neighbors have boarded up because of the race wars that were going on. Like it was like literally boarded up. And I'm the crazy entrepreneur opening a store. So I didn't raise any capital. I just opened the store. 2 months later, we have $1 million in sales. 8 months later, there's $10 million in sales. I was like, okay, this is not a hobby or, passion thing
Just
anymore.
from the one store.
We had a second store at the time, and we were online selling 24 hours a day, live streaming like QVC on Instagram. It's called live breaking.
Do you know Tom Marchese?
Oh yeah, for sure.
So Tom opened a store
Of
here
course,
in Vegas.
absolutely.
You
I buy from them. Yeah.
Oh, nice.
So we just opened our 9th store. To fast forward the story, we opened our 9th store here in Vegas at the Mandalay Bay Casino with a football player named Marshawn Lynch. We split a store together. And so my goal is to build the first national chain store in the sports card space. We've done 24 million sales since then. And now it's like, okay, I'm going to go for it because now it's fun. So we started raising a round of capital to like actually scale it. We started bringing in like all these interesting characters as investors and like make this into a big thing, make a real national chain store.
I see a lot of influencers are involved in this, like the Logan Pauls.
Absolutely.
And other people that are opening up or have the card on a chain around their neck.
Yeah, that card that Logan Paul wears is $5 million. Well, now it's more than that. And me and my friend Travis, we bought 20% of it. So we bought $1 million of the $5 million card that Logan Paul wears.
The 10 Charizard or whatever.
Because it's already the rarest card ever. So it was an interesting investment for Travis and I. But
Travis bought, right?
Yes.
Oh man, our worlds intersect in so many different ways.
Yep. And so
crazy.
Travis and I went on the Logan Paul's podcast together. We paid $300,000 for an NFT from Logan to do the podcast together. It's like a fun thing. Anyways, so we buy this 20% of this $5 million card, and it's a really good investment because we know that card's going to go up. But more importantly, Logan Paul's going to go wear it at the WWE. He's going to wear it on commercials. He's going to wear it.
Plus, you're connected with Logan Paul,
right? Now you
that can't hurt.
Exactly.
It's going to open up different doors.
Yes. Literally this morning, I was FaceTiming with Gary Vee talking about sports cards and NFTs for half an hour, and
Sure.
That's because of this relationship with sports cards. And so that is a passion project, and I brought a lot of fun characters into.
Did you go down to VCon?
Yeah, I was there last week.
Okay.
Yep. So then I have the acai bowl chain called Everbowl. I invested in that with Jeff Fenster. I bought with a couple of friends 17 locations, and there's 60 locations in total. Me and some friends originally invested into the business, and then I helped them raise $5 million on top of that. And then a bunch of us started buying franchises because it's a great business model. So we have 60 locations now. We open one new one every 6 days. And it's just acai bowls, blueberries.
One every 6 days.
One new one every 6 days.
What does it cost to open one up?
$160,000 on average, a little less than that. And so that's why I liked it, because most franchises are $350,000 to $450,000. These are around $120 to $160.
And so it's a franchise model.
It is a franchise model. Yep.
Do you own the franchise or are you a franchisee?
Well, I own 17 of the stores with a couple friends.
Okay.
The parent company acts as the franchisor. And so my 17 are franchisees.
Got it.
Yes, we are franchises.
So, and you're going to open up one every 6 days?
We are already. We already have 60 open.
60?
Yes.
I thought you said you had 17.
I bought 17 with a couple of friends out of the 60 that are out there.
Got it.
So I own all the ones in like San Diego, Orange County. Those are the ones that me and my friends own.
Good business?
I love it.
I mean, but is it a good business? Does it make money?
Oh yeah. Yeah. Drew Brees invested $2 million. He bought 150 locations from us. We're opening some up with Jason Tatum in Boston. We're opening up some with a UFC fighter in Miami. Like, it's fun. I love it a lot.
Jeez, you are a networked guy.
The networking comes from events. I throw a lot of events. I throw a lot of charity events, and I invest in a lot of companies. And so that's how I meet a lot of people.
Well, let's get the landscape first, and I want to get into events.
All right. So cards and coffee, Everbowl.
So you have the first company was the media.
So Elevator Studio.
Elevator Studio.
That's my main business. Yes.
Elevator Studio, main business. Then you have cards and coffee.
Yes.
Passion project, but also a good business.
Yep.
Then you have what's the acai bowl?
Everbowl.
Everbowl.
Yep.
And that is successful and growing.
Yes.
Well, what else do you have?
So I have the Masterminds.
Masterminds.
Yep.
So you talk about your whole mastermind model.
Yep.
And because it's a pretty unique way you set it up. You listening. I did some listening yesterday, preparing for this conversation, and it reminded me of a podcast that I listened to with Jamie Foxx when he was talking about how he broke into Hollywood and he would throw these parties. And at the parties, he'd be able to kind of like showcase some of his music, showcase some of his chops. Yep. And that was his secret sauce, is he just threw the baddest ass parties in the world.
Yes.
So anyway, give your whole model of what you've done with Mastermind.
Yep. So for years, I threw elevator nights, which is I still throw for free. I've thrown it 51 times. It's 300 to 1,000 entrepreneurs. No tickets, no sales on stage, no sponsors, just free. And that was my excuse to get people in the room. So I'd have Jake Paul speaking, Russell Simmons speaking. I'd have big names speaking, but it's a free event. And that was my way to do that for the last decade. I've done those events. Like you just mentioned, throwing the baddest parties, I throw what's called the world's largest pizza festival. So my birthday party, this is 6 years ago, I did the first one. And I brought in Tyga, 2 Chainz, Wiz Khalifa to perform with 1,000.
Now, how'd you get them to come and perform?
I paid them.
Oh,
Well, I paid 2 of them, and then 5 other people jumped on stage for free. And I had household names jumping on stage to perform for free, which was great. But 800 girls, 100 guys, 100 friends. So 1,000 people max, nobody can buy a ticket. You throw the world's largest pizza festival, a lot of people post about you, talk about you, want to network with you.
sounds like a Bilzerian party.
Yeah. So all the Bilzerian parties people saw for the first 6 years were my birthday party, my Halloween party, etc.
Really?
At his house. And then he started throwing the Ignite parties on his own that were massive on a whole different, like crazy. But yeah, I throw like charity poker with Steve Aoki at Bilzerian's house. I used to throw my parties at Bilzerian's house back in the days. And we've been friends for so many years, 14 years now. He used to do my poker site with me. Anyways, so events, live events is where I meet a lot of people. And then the charity events, I would throw 4 charity events a year, and I would help Aoki with his charity poker tournament each year. And so last year, we broke the Guinness Book of World Records for the largest toy drive in history. And so now I'm obsessed. I want to break it again. It's our 10-year anniversary for the toy drive. I'm going to try to do it in like 10 cities and try to just, wreck our own.
So tell me what you do specifically in that toy drive.
So we take over SoFi Stadium and we try to cover the whole field with toys. In Salt Lake City, we took over Sean Whalen's The Lions Not Sheep warehouse and filled that up with toys. And then we have local hospitals, local charities, local homeless shelters come over and pick up the toys. It's a very efficient model. And I showcase to people, I'm throwing a really big toy drive, but you could throw a toy drive in Philadelphia, New Mexico, Dallas, Uzbekistan. I don't care where you are in the world. You could throw a toy drive too. You don't need to donate to mine. You replicate it. So I try to showcase in all my charity how people can do the same charities, not necessarily donate to me or my charity. You replicate it, and I try to make it easy that fashion.
So do you do it around holiday time, Christmas
December,
time?
Yeah, every December.
And like specifically what time in December?
The first 2 weeks.
Got it.
Yep. That way we have enough time to distribute it on the the third week of December. So all of that led to the Mastermind, 2019. I was speaking at everyone's masterminds, and most masterminds are 25K, 20K, 35K, etc. Most of them are in the Sheraton Ballroom, the Radisson, etc. And they weren't an experience. And so I'm like, I'm going to create the 100 million mastermind experience, and a keyword experience. I'm going to make it $100,000 per person. And I had this grandiose idea, and I sold out in 2 months. We've been sold out since 2019. Because
How many people?
100 people, 100 person max. And I was like, okay, I'm going to create something that nobody can replicate, because what I'm going to do is not tell anyone who the celebrities are going to be, who the athletes are going to be, who the performances are. And so we started off with our opening speaker is Bruce Buffer introducing 100 people. And then Mark Wahlberg walks in. They're like, oh my God, there's Mark Wahlberg. And then we have Tyga perform, and nobody knows. My business partner, who I'm throwing the events with, Joel Marion, didn't know. My staff, nobody. I wanted to make it a complete, utter surprise. To build on the experience part, because we make our relationships through experiences. You remember who you went to a concert with, dinner with, etc. And so I wanted to make these ridiculous experiences. And so throughout these weekends, I'm spending $1 to $2 million in a weekend to make it like this, holy smokes, like legendary thing that people will remember. And hopefully they'll stick with me for years and years, wanting to be a part of those experiences. I then made a different type of mastermind called Operation Black Site. Operation Black Site, you're going to learn how to shoot from the guy that shot bin Laden. You're going to learn how to fight from Michael Chandler, who's fighting Conor McGregor. You're literally going to get on the floor and fight with Michael Chandler. He's not going to hurt you. That's my one rule. I say, hey, no blood. But you're going to learn how to fight from Michael Chandler and Tim Kennedy and Bedros Koulian. These guys are Navy SEALs, UFC fighters, et cetera, are going to teach you how to shoot and teach you how to fight and teach you how to like get out of handcuffs, how to get out of if you get tied up and kidnapped, et cetera. And so we created Operation Black Site years ago, which is why we made Black Site Ranch. Part of why we bought the ranch is to make the events at the ranch. That's a 20K mastermind. So that's the 2 styles of masterminds. So kind of like for people out there thinking about either having your own mastermind, throwing events, etc. I started with free events for years, and I still throw them. So I think it's like my Robin Hood. giving back to people and bringing in.
Plus, it's fun.
I love it. I'm obsessed with it. And then 8 years later is when I finally decided to throw masterminds. So just keep that in mind when a lot of people are saying, I'm going to throw a mastermind. Hold on, make sure you are Eric Worre level before you throw a mastermind, right?
Yeah.
A lot of people are trying to do it when they signed up and they're learning from Eric, and on month 2, they're like, I'm going to do my own mastermind. Don't do that. You should be a master before you start a mastermind.
Talk to me about just the concept, because I believe masterminds are like, they're kind of like mentors at scale. They're like a time machine. They're like a cheat code.
Yes.
You step into the time machine, you're 5 years smarter without being 5 years older.
Yep.
Plus the relationships. You've talked about a lot of different relationships that you've built over the course of this conversation. Those relationships, I'm going to venture to say you met many of these relationships at a mastermind.
Absolutely.
So talk to me about how valuable they've been just to your career development before you even started them.
I'll give you a quick example. Last year, out of our masterminds, we raised $44 million for startup companies. $3 to $6 million per deal from a mastermind that only has 100 people in it. So just put it in perspective financially. Now you can equate it to a number. We invested $44 million into companies that then went and hired 1,000 employees. So the butterfly effect is there. It's real. The relationships, one level, I got to book my heroes. I get to book Hulk Hogan to interview. I get to book Mark Wahlberg, Mike Tyson, Floyd Mayweather, all the guys we grew up watching as kids. I can now watch and get to interview them on stage. So that's the personal level for me. I'm now networking with celebrities and athletes. But the most important part of that, forget the money part, forget the celebrity part, you having a local mastermind in Dallas, Texas, that's focused on restaurants or focused on cars and car dealerships. You sitting around in a room for 1 day or 3 days with other people that own car dealerships, you are going to fast forward 5 years, like Eric said, because you're going to talk about how do you do your accounting? How do you do your firing? How do you do your hiring? What do you do if 2 employees are fighting? These are questions that we all want to know as car dealership owners, right? What do we do with our staff? What do we do with our hiring? What do we do if a customer lied on their credit report? Like, these are just things that happen that come up as car dealership owners and we don't know until we're live in the room. What if there's a guy in the room that has 7 car dealerships? He's going to skip you 5 years, like Eric said, to tell you, this is what you do if they do the form. If you do this, you can actually save it so they can't even lie on it because you can do double verification. What do you do if your employee is bigger? You put this employee on timeout, have them sign this agreement. To them, it's nothing. They've been doing it for 7 years because they have 7 different car dealerships. You're in a group with 9 people that have restaurants. They know how to do with the cooks, the managers, the chefs, the leases, the everything. They know where to buy the hood, the oven, the grease trap, the refrigerator, everything better because they own a bunch of restaurants. So being in rooms with people that are in a niche or in a similar size business, they're doing $2 million a year like you are. They're doing $5 million a year like you are. Being in a room with them, you will skip 5 years, like Eric said, because they know how to deal with the distribution, the lawyers, the accounting, the employees, the staff, and all the things that are going to come up, all the problems, headaches, situations that are going to come up. They can tell you in seconds. Same concept of reading a book, right? You can learn from an expert that puts it into 200 pages. Their lifelong knowledge is in 200 pages. But not everybody's good at consuming the knowledge from a book. And it's way different if I got to, Eric wrote the book, GoPro. What if I actually got to be in the room with Eric? Mm-hmm. How much faster am I going to learn if that's my style of learning? And I can actually say, hey, Eric, can you tell me about what do I do if this happens? What do I do if this happens? What do I do if this happens? Eric can rattle it off in seconds because he's lived and breathed it for decades. And so being in a room of a mastermind is much more about the members than it is the instructor or the owner of the mastermind.
So I'll put you on the spot. Name 5 masterminds that had a big impact on you.
So War Room was very powerful because they're very technical. They were around for years. There's one called CEO Space. Sadly, the founder passed away, but CEO Space was very impactful. I love the way they did it. It was very, very...
Both of those no longer
correct.
Go. War Room they stopped doing.
Yes. Now they have multiple other versions of masterminds because the founders have multiple other masterminds now. But those were the ones that I remember because of the technical parts of it. Mm-hmm. I never went to Genius Network, but obviously that's a very high-end price point mastermind. What's another mastermind? I can't think of the other ones.
Anyone's
Sorry, Ken Clothier. Ken Clothier's mastermind's fantastic because Ken has Boardroom Mastermind.
spell the name.
Kent Clothier, Clothier. Boardroom Mastermind. There are over 200 members now. I think it's like $35K type price point. But Kent is like all the real estate guys ask him the advice. I mean, all the real estate speakers, instructors, guys with hundreds of homes, blah, 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 they call Kent. Whenever I have real estate questions, I call Kent. Like Ken Clothier's mastermind for Boardroom is very impactful. And he throws a once a year annual conference. Gets like 500-600 people for an annual conference. That is a very impactful one because again, you're learning from someone that is a
right
lived and breathed. His family, they manage 7,000 single family homes. And and he has multiple funds, $20 million fund, $40 million fund. Like that's a guy I want to learn from. And so Ken's masterminds are great. Who else is mastermind? I must have spoken to like 80 masterminds the last few years and I'm trying to think of who's the ones that stand out.
That's all right.
That's good.
So you got your influencer marketing business. You have your cards and coffee business. You've got your acai bowl business. You've got your mastermind business.
Yep.
You have your philanthropy of what you're doing at scale, which is exciting and fun.
Yeah.
It's a different energy, isn't it? When you do the philanthropy stuff. What else is on the horizon for you? I mean, you have to be doing angel investing.
Yep. So I've angel invested personally into 43 companies. And then I created Elevator Syndicate. Elevator Syndicate is 846 members. There's no cost to join. Elevator Syndicate is 846 members. And I send them the deals once every month or two of what I'm investing into and what my fund is investing into. And they can optionally invest into it also. That's gone well because we're able to raise capital for companies very quickly, usually in less than 2 weeks, and take their whole round. And then I created Elevator Rolling Fund. Elevator Rolling Fund invests into all the syndicate deals and vice versa. Syndicate invests in all the... So Elevator Syndicate, Elevator Rolling Fund. The Rolling Fund acts like a hedge fund, but it's managed by me and my CEO that I brought on. He runs my whole life. So the CEO I brought on runs my agency, runs my fund, he runs my whole world because he's 30 years in the TV game. He's over 60 years old and he's just been in the game forever working with Fox and Sony and Dr. Phil. Like he's got the ultimate pedigree and his name is Joey Carson. Joey runs my whole world. And so he runs the fund, he runs the agency as well. And so on the angel investing side, that's my passion. Like I'm obsessed with angel investing. I'm constantly looking for deals to invest into, but I'm super picky. I'll look at 300 deals.
You sound like you have like 10 passions.
I have, yes. So my main passion is my charity. That's the one I love the most. The animals part and the whole ranch thing is because of my wife and because of like the thing that we're building there.
And we didn't get into we got into your black
site.
Black site.
Yeah, black site.
which is a ranch where you do all the survival stuff.
Yeah.
Or combat stuff. Kind of what it's got to be team building and personal growth experience. But there's also a bunch of exotic animals.
Yes.
I'm not going to say you're Tiger King, but
no, definitely not.
But there's what do you have there as far as animals?
So we have 85 animals there. It's called the Wild Jungle, WYLD, Wild Jungle. And every week we rescue more animals. There's some animals we buy,
So
but
it's a rescue animal, kind of refuge type of a place.
Yeah, 95% of the animals are rescues, and then 5% we buy. Some of the exotic animals we're buying. We have camels and zebras and ostriches and a zorse, which is a zebra and a horse combined.
A zorse.
Yeah.
That's a thing.
Zebra. The zebra and a horse combined. We call them Zorro. And it is a magical place. And we're building that into its own whole world, its own brand. It's not for the general public. We do private tours, but it's not for the general public. And then we'll throw some birthday parties there, like kids' birthday parties there, celebrity birthday parties there at the ranch. That's 26 acres. A third of it is dedicated to the animals. So around 8 or 9 acres is just animal side. And, spent millions and millions of dollars building out that sections. We built a section for giraffes. So we're getting giraffes this summer. But that's my favorite thing to do, walk around and feed those animals. And
I can see when I look at your social, I can see you're having fun.
Yeah.
Walking people through there and showing people around and all that stuff. So anyway, you back to your passion as far as angel investing. You got a lot of passions, which is great.
Yep.
But it's kind of rare that somebody can be this type of a Renaissance person and have so many passions. Typically, people are very kind of myopic. It's like they go deep on one thing and and that's their whole world. Like myself, I would have a difficulty having all those balls in the air.
Sure.
But it seems like you thrive in it, or you've created a support system to be able to thrive.
Correct. I don't do any of these projects without a quarterback running it. If I don't have a CEO to run it, I don't do it at all, whatsoever. You couldn't bribe me. Here's $100 million. Go do this thing where you got to run it. I couldn't care less because I know me. I want to be touching a lot of different deals and interacting with a lot of different people and flying around the planet. Like I want to be in the mix because life is short. And I've had a lot of people pass away, and I just think about how short life is, and I want to be very active and do a lot of stuff. But I hold myself back as the wild entrepreneur. If I don't have a CEO to run it, the quarterback to run it, I literally won't do it under any circumstance. No amount of money will change that philosophy because I know the day-to-day me, day-to-day Dan is not going to want to run no matter how much money is involved. I couldn't care less. Now, every one of the things that we just talked about has a CEO, all of them. And so I'm managing them from group chats. I'm doing Zoom calls. I'm interacting some of the time. But if I didn't respond to the sports card guys for a month, it would be just fine. If I didn't talk about acai bowls all year, it would be just fine. I actually don't know most of my clients at my agency because my CEO runs it like a machine. I literally don't even have their emails or phone numbers. I don't even know them. They came in through me or saw me on social, etc., and came in the funnel, just like Gary Vee gets famous and then they come in the funnel and they become clients of VaynerMedia. Same concept. But ultimately, I have a CEO running that. And I'm very passionate about that. And I talk about that a lot for people that want to scale. You have to know yourself of what type of entrepreneur you are. Most people aren't even built to be an entrepreneur or built to be the right CEO to run these things. And be self-aware enough to know, like, do you like the nitty-gritty stuff? Do you like accounting, paperwork, lawyers, and details and filling out permits and stuff? If you don't, find someone that does. Or if you're the entrepreneur that X, Y, Z, this is what you love, find the opposite. And so I found that if I can just find the right CEO that's passionate about the business, not just the money, passionate about the business, then I'll take on those different projects.
Got it. So angel investing, venture capital is another part of your world. Have you had some big exits?
Yeah. So SneakerCon, we sold that to eBay. That was a fun one. Dollar Beard Club, we sold to a private equity group. We were the very first, only two investors was me and Bilzerian. That was a fun one. There was one that went public. I can't think of the name right now, but we got in very early with that one. Then it went public and went on to become a very interesting, like a media company. Yeah, we invested with that guy Anthony Pompliano. We invested into a training, like a student program where the guy that trained Elon Musk's kids, that was basically the tutor for the kids. He created like a system to teach online that involved creativity for like middle school, high school kids. We invested a year ago and it's already, their new round is at 7X what we invested in. So that was the very first investment for my fund. So that make it look good for the fund. We had a 7X return in our first year. But yeah, I've invested into some really great companies that will have exits for sure. Everbowl, obviously, we just raised another $15 million that we didn't even really need. It was like a war chest round for Everbowl because we've sold over 370 locations. So that money has already came in and the round came in. So Everbowl will have a big exit one day. I'm building Cars and Coffee to exit because normally I don't build a company to exit. I'm building that to exit because there is no national chain store. And so I'm really focused on that. We invested into Cauliflower Foods. We put $6 million in there and then another $3 million afterwards. That's going to get bought for sure. Like it's just a great, healthy, vegan pizza brand. Like it's going to get bought. It's going to get acquired. Yeah. We did a lot of food and beverage investments this last year and a half or 2 years in particular, because food and beverage gets really good multiples. And we don't invest unless they're already doing 4 million, 8 million, 12 million bucks in sales. So Icon Meals, we put in 3 million and the UFC put in money too. And now Icon Meals is now you see it at all the UFC fights. Like there's been some really great investments that we know we're going to exit for sure, either through myself, the syndicate, or the fund. But I have this thing called cherry picking. I don't cherry pick, meaning I don't invest in companies unless my syndicate or my fund does, because it avoids people saying, oh, why'd you invest into Icon Meals? And we didn't. That doesn't happen. Same thing when you ask about the rarest cards that I own. I actually don't own a single card. So I used to have a bunch of cards. I contributed them all to the store when I started. And I've told everyone, until we exit the company, Dan is not going to have a single card in his house. Because I don't want people to be like, oh, why'd you buy that Michael Jordan for you or the Wayne Gretzky for you and not for the store? Not going to happen under any circumstance, under any deal. Any cards that I see are for the stores. And I think that's important for entrepreneurs that are out there to don't have self-dealings. It's going to come up a lot. You're going to have greed or opportunities or situations that you could do self-dealings. Please avoid that at all costs. It'll break up your partnerships, relationships, investors, etc. If you do that, keep all your things for your business. And so I live by that, and I talk about it a lot because I want people to know I'm never going to have a sports card until we exit. I'm never going to invest into a company unless my syndicate and fund do as well.
Mm-hmm. Makes sense. So you have an ocean of marketing experience. You see entrepreneurial ventures, big and small. And there's this whole universe of solopreneurs inside the network marketing space. So you've had to have seen a lot of that.
Oh, yeah.
You've had to have known a lot of those people.
For sure.
What is your opinion of network marketing in general? And we'll just start there.
Yep. So the first thing is consistency. A lot of times people go into network marketing.
I'm not talking about success.
Yep.
What's your opinion of the channel
I think
as a venue for the average person to be able to try and express their entrepreneurship?
Oh, it's fantastic because it's a low barrier to entry, low cost entry to learn about business and entrepreneurship, networking, dealing with failures, successes, people saying no, people saying yes. Like everything about it is a great breeding ground. I was selling Cutco, going around selling knives as a kid because it was great learning. And then I got obsessed. I sold my first set, my second set. I'm like, wait a minute, I can be like the weekly leader. I'm going to go do everything I can. This is before texting existed. There was no smartphones. And like, I remember it still to this day, 20 something years later, 25 years later, like of me going around selling Cutco. And so that is a great time for people to learn. You can get in for free, $500, $1,000, whatever it costs to enter into a brand or business oftentimes. And then you get to learn from people that are doing hundreds of millions of dollars in sales and millions of dollars in sales and team leaders and sponsors. Like you're getting access to people for $500, $1,000, a couple grand, whatever you're spending to be a part of a brand, and you're getting products that are good. And so as long as you're sticking with companies that are good and people that you believe in, the leaders, this is fascinating, like real life school. Like you're going to learn about business and you're going to learn about how to get people to say yes, how to deal with people rejection, how to throw events and having like house events and having people come to your house. Like this is all interesting stuff. Whether it's matter where you're selling Mary Kay or Cutco or anything in between, like it's a really great breeding ground to learn about business and life.
And what advice would you have for a network marketer when it comes to social media?
So again, people buy from people that they know, trust, and like. And so you having social media is critical because people are going to research before they make a decision. What happens is most people make a purchasing decision from emotions and then back it up with logic. And so in that moment, if they know about your puppy and the grandma and the pickleball, like we talked about earlier, they might make a purchasing decision based on them liking you more, whatever product or service that you're selling. They back it up with logic. And so you have to sell a good product or service. That's important. And so making social media content will showcase people to your life. It will make people want to work with you, buy from you, refer you, want to go to events that you're throwing, etc., because they're getting to watch your life and they trust you. If I'm going to buy $800 thing from you and I saw your grandma and your puppies, I feel really comfortable buying an $800 thing from you. I know about when you play pickleball and basketball and barbecues, etc. I feel connected to you. Oh, you're throwing an event at your house next Sunday? I want to come. That wouldn't happen if I didn't have social media. If I didn't follow you on Instagram, how would I know about your puppies and pickleball or the event at your house on Sunday? That costs you nothing for me to know that stuff.
Free advertising. Yeah.
It's crazy to me when people don't do it because it's so free, so easy. It doesn't take away time because you're already doing those things. You're already going to the barbecue. You're already doing the pickleball. You're already doing the thing. And you already have the phone in your pocket. So you have the phone, you have the camera. Social media platforms are free. You're already doing the thing. There's no excuses.
Right. Literally no excuses. I want to talk on one more topic and then we'll wrap up. The topic is this is a joint passion of ours. We both like to play poker.
Oh, yeah.
So how long have you been a poker player?
So I started right when I was 18. I was playing at Siquan, Barona, and Vejas, the casinos, Indian casinos in San Diego.
Okay.
They're like the size of a tent. But my family was deep in poker. My aunt and uncle owned a small poker room in Tipton, California. You don't know where Tipton is? I don't know where Tipton is. I used to go there as a child, and they owned a small poker room. When they moved to LA, my aunt became a dealer at the Bicycle Club Casino. Mm-hmm. My uncle started winning all these trophies, which he still has from 30 years ago, of like low ball, deuce to seven games I can't even spell. Like he was winning those championships, and they're like a cool clock of him winning a $500 tournament, $1,000 tournament. And so I loved poker. And my mom still plays it. My mom won 3 weeks ago, like the senior citizen poker tournament. Like she's obsessed with poker too. So it's fun. And so, yeah, I started playing when I was 18 and my business has started at 19. I did 9.5 million in sales in my company from my energy drink. So I started having some money. Second, I was 21. I was at the Hard Rock Hotel because a casino host named Steve Sear recruited me. He saw me in Entrepreneur Magazine. He cold called me. I was 19 and convinced me so that when I was 21, my birthday party would be here. And so that's what happened. And so I started flying in and playing poker on the weekends. My business partner would play blackjack.
Hard Rock in Florida?
No, right here in Las Vegas.
Okay, in Vegas.
Yeah,
wow.
absolutely. Yeah, right here. I was living in San Diego, so it was a quick, easy
Got
flight.
it.
And so, yeah, I would play at the Hard Rock in Las Vegas. I would stay there as soon as I was 21, and then I would play poker at the Bellagio. So blackjack was at the Hard Rock, poker was at the Bellagio. My business partner would come, he'd play with like 25 grand. I'd bring 25 grand for poker, and we'd split what happened at the end of the weekend of like how much he wanted blackjack, how much I wanted poker. We'd split it up. It was
What
fun.
kind of stakes were you playing?
Back then it was 10, 20, and then 25, 50. Sometimes. And that was like Antonio Esfandiari, the Unabomber, guys that were much better than me. Obviously, I was a 21-year-old kid. I was playing with those guys back then.
So, and you've continued to play.
Oh, yeah.
And now you play nosebleed stakes.
Yes.
Some of the biggest games in the world.
Yeah.
That most people wouldn't understand.
Yeah. I don't think people in the room understand it, even when I'm there.
So
it's crazy.
What's a typical buy-in for these cash games that you play?
So you start off the beginning of the night between 25 grand, 50 grand, 100 grand at a time. But that's not going to last very long because people are all in, they're playing crazy, and the blinds, the format is quite high. So you have to
blinds are what?
So we play 400, 800, and then with a straddle. The straddle is like a blind raise. Usually it's $2,000 just to make it an even number. And so we play 400, 800, and 2,000.
For those of you who are listening, this game is huge.
Yeah.
It's massive. It's 6-figure swings, easy.
Yes.
Either way.
6-figure hands.
I
mean, I played in one night a month ago. I played 4 pots over $1 million in a matter of like 2 hours.
And what happened with those four pots?
I won a few of them and I lost a few of them.
So, at the end of the night,
Roger was there. That's why he's laughing in the background.
What was the damage?
I net won 440,000 that night in particular, but there was a couple of scenarios where I could have lost $1 million or won $2 million because of like a couple of key hands. But we ran it twice, so there was 2 boards in a couple of situations. Yeah, I'm having flashbacks thinking about those hands. But yeah, those games, those hands are very rare. The game is escalated also.
Yeah.
When you play with a lot of the same guys, you start off playing 100, 200, then you play 200, 400, then it's 200, 400, 800. And okay, let's just play 400, 800. Oh, let's stop using the change. Let's start playing 1,000, 2,000. Oh, you know what? Why don't we play 1,000, 2,000, 4,000? And then that just kind of became normal. It's hard to go back.
Right.
And so in particular, in this year in 2023,
does Travis play that game too?
Sometimes, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. And so sometimes we're playing with 1K, 2K, 4K. I mean, this is just nuts. Like you're talking about 6-figure hands are just normal because if the straddle is 4,000, you're going to open to 10 to 14,000. If Eric re-raises me, he's going to make it 30 or 40,000. I call. Now what happened? There's 90,000 in the pot.
Yeah.
Nothing's happened yet.
and for my network marketing audience, just bear with us. This is interesting for me. It might not be interesting for you. But the poker world, I've learned so much about there's so many lessons there as far as the complexity of the game. It's like complexity in network marketing. You never stop learning.
Right.
How much emotion management is necessary for success. How much ego management.
For sure.
See people that get their egos in the way of the right decision.
Yes.
Or I'm not going to let him push me around.
Right.
Or
he's not going to bluff me.
Everybody thinks, I'm going to get a read on this person. Right. Mostly, you do get reads occasionally, but mostly you just have to self-manage your own state.
Yes.
And the big hyper cash games that you play, some of the biggest games in the world. I like playing tournaments a little bit more. I like the structure of it. I love
tournaments, yeah.
The higher stakes, the better, the more exciting it is for sure. But so many lessons on managing yourself.
For sure.
So many lessons on the need to continue to improve. the need to be looking for small edges that you can compound over the next 6 months.
Yes.
Right. Dealing with quote unquote bad luck or dealing with good luck.
Sure.
Because there's some people, no matter how much they're up, they're going to find a way to give it back.
Absolutely.
And other people, no matter how much they're down, they're going to keep chasing until
Right.
they're down farther.
Right.
And other people that are, if they're even, they're bored out of their minds and they're just
Right.
super miserable.
Right.
So some of them, no matter what happens, they can't be happy.
Yes.
No matter what happens in their life. And others are kind of happy no matter what.
Yeah.
So give me one or two lessons that you've learned from the game.
Most of it's about egos. And so understanding human behavior, you can see the players and you're making judgments. How are they dressed? How are they acting? Are they drinking? Are they looking at their phone the whole time for hours at a time? Are they watching something? Are they doing phone calls? Are they going outside to smoke cigarettes? Like you can see human behavior a lot. And in that moment, that's why I'm staring. You'll notice if you ever watch me play on a show or something, like I'm staring even when there's nothing going on. Like they're in a hand, I'm just watching them. Because the way you're sitting right now, you might have been comfortable in that hand. And then I see you 3 hours later and you do this again and you just raise me. It's probably pretty comfortable, right? I don't know for sure, but I can gauge, at least I have some information in the game information that Eric feels comfortable right in this moment that he's doing this. And when he goes like this, maybe he's nervous and maybe he was bluffing. Like I can try to gauge things and I wasn't even in the hand. I watched him play versus someone else. And so
Awareness.
yes,
A high level awareness. That's one of my superpowers in business is I have a very high level awareness and I notice things that other people don't notice. I hear something and it's something nobody even caught it, but I caught it.
right.
And I knew 3 years from now, I'm going to be in a different place because of that thing. And nobody else heard that thing.
Yep.
So you're talking about the same thing, sitting at a poker table, being hyper aware versus being distracted. And the world wants you to be distracted.
Correct. So also in the poker world, you have to understand what is someone willing to do? What type of personality are they? Like if one player raises all the time, well, his hand value goes down because he's raising all the time. If the guy that's been quiet for 6 hours all of a sudden raises, well, there's a pretty few amount of hands that he probably has to raise all of a sudden after all these hours. And so understanding human behavior, what they're doing, why they're doing it, what they're willing to do, what type of character are they? Are they dramatic and flashy? Are they super quiet and stoic? Like who are they and why are they doing what they're doing? So that in those moments when you're playing a hand against them, just like in business at a conference table or negotiating, you can watch the human behavior. What are they doing? Why are they doing it? How are they acting, etc. You're not always going to be right, but it's a game of information. So the more things you can learn, the more things you can decipher, you can make the best decision possible. And then there is luck and math and cards that have to happen, right? Eric has aces, Dan has kings, we get all in, and I hit a king. Eric's still going to play aces every single time for the rest of his existence right? He's always going to play aces. Later, I've got queens, he's got kings, he hits 3 kings, blah, blah, blah. I'm still going to play queens. So there's some parts that are part of the game, the math and the luck factor of it. But ultimately, I have to make decisions. You have to take the decision that you learned from the human behavior, combine that with the math, and that's why you see some of the main guys win year after year after year after year after year, like a Phil Ivey, because he's watched the game for so many years, and then the times that he gets unlucky, it doesn't matter because skill will prevail.
Who's a handful of players that you admire?
Phil Hellmuth, because his tenacity to play anything and everything. In the 25K fantasy draft, I sign him every single year, because I know he's going to play everything. Daniel Negreanu, because he still studies. He's one of the best in history. He has so many bracelets. He still hires kids, like poker kids, I call them the wizards, to teach him. This is a poker legend. The guy's been playing for decades, and he still hires trainers to this day. I love that about him. There's a young player named Chance Cornuth who just wins everything. It's mind-boggling. It is mind-boggling.
And a great personality.
There's a poker player that I've been staking for years named Cord Garcia. He knows how to get chip leads better than anybody I've ever seen in my life. He just focuses on tournaments, but he'll be like the day 1 chip leader. And then next week, day 1 chip leader. Next week, day 1 chip leader in all these different tournaments. So it's really exciting to invest in him. Staking is when you buy a piece of a player, whether you buy the whole amount, let's say the tournament's $1,000, you can put up the whole 1,000 or put up like $200 and buy 20%. So I've been staking Cord Garcia for years because it's exciting to be a part of his poker. Since he gets chip leads a lot, it's really fun. A lot of players just kind of exist in tournaments. He knows how to go for the glory. And then Phil Ivey. Phil Ivey is the best in the world. In every sport, people say, is it LeBron? Is it Michael Jordan? Is it Tiger Woods or Phil Mickelson? In poker, it's just Phil Ivey. There is no second. There's nobody that's close. Whether it's online, cash games, tournaments, he'll play you in any game at any time for any stake, anywhere in the world, and fly to you and come deliver it to your house.
Just a beast.
Yes. And there are other players that could be better in like a one specific niche or one specific game. Nobody plays everything like Phil Ivey, and with no fear, no matter what, for any amount of money. And so he's like the legend to me in the poker world, and it's really fun to watch. And then you guys can watch these things. You can watch on YouTube. You can watch a lot of these players. You can just put them in YouTube.
Yeah, it's a fascinating game. It's been a fun, lifelong game for me. I enjoy it so much. But listen, Dan, all of this has been fascinating, and we need to have more of these conversations, go deeper on everything from marketing to growing businesses to how do you support those businesses? How do you get the right people in place? Your commitment to philanthropy, your commitment to following your passions, rescuing animals, providing great experiences for people that get around your orbit, your support for the network marketing community, all of it is fantastic. So I want to thank you for taking the time with all of us today.
Thanks for having me here. It's really fun.
It's been a real pleasure. I appreciate it. So that's my conversation with Dan Fleyshman. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, make sure that you subscribe. Make sure that you share this with a friend. And until next time, go out there and make your life amazing.